Chapter 463. Qingpin, what are you doing? Guhan hurriedly took out his big shirt from his dimensional pocket and covered Qingpin with it. Although there should be no one else around except for Yuan Ku, Guhan still felt like his precious thing was seen by others. The clothes are stained with strange things. It's so disgusting. Qingpin doesn't want to wear it. Qingpin wants to take a bath. Qingpin waved his two small arms and said. Guhan then understood that it was probably because when Qingpin killed Yuan Ku's blood stained his clothes, so he felt disgusted. However, as these Yuan Ku corpses were absorbed by the dimensional vortex, the blood that belonged to Yuan Ku should have disappeared with them. According to the rules of the dimensional vortex, anything that Yuan Ku brought from that world must return to that world with him after his death, and blood was no exception. Guhan looked down at the clothes that Qingpin had thrown away just now. Sure enough, it was still clean without a trace of blood on it. But even so, a normal person would probably not be willing to wear these clothes. Hey! Jiu Yun, who saw all this, stuck her tongue out at Qingpin. Shameless, shameless, taking off your clothes. Shameless. Qingpin's body is *T from Guhan's stomach. What's the big deal about letting Guhan take a look? Hearing Jiu Yun's words, not only was Qingpin not shy, but she also puffed up her small chest and then wanted to pull off Guhan's shirt that was draped over her body to continue letting Guhan see her tender little body. You better know your place. Guhan knocked on Qingpin's head to stop Qingpin's idiotic behavior. He then smiled bitterly at Misaka Mikoto, who was staring at him with her mouth agape. Ms. Misaka, I think it's getting dark soon. It's too early to rush to the Rainflower Terrace today. Moreover, it's too disadvantageous for us sword-bearers at night. Why don't we find a place to set up camp and set off tomorrow morning? Oh, okay. No problem. Misaka Mikoto snapped out of her daze. She looked at the cloudless sky and nodded in agreement. Don't worry. We can't rush things until the heavens decide. The heavenly secret hasn't arrived. What do you mean? Guhan shook his head and began to look for a suitable campsite. Camping in the ruins of the city was actually much safer than camping in the wild because there were all kinds of broken walls to protect them. As long as they didn't encounter any Yuan Shen that could sense humans, they would usually be able to pass the night safely. However, Nanjing City's Yuan Ku could be considered as a Yuan Ku that could detect humans. Their eyesight was not that good. Most of them did not even have eyeballs. All of them had myopia of more than 1,300 degrees and did not rely on their eyesight to detect their enemies. They relied on their evolved sense of smell and hearing to detect their enemies. Therefore, when choosing a campsite, they had to choose an enclosed and soundproof room to avoid the zombies' sense of smell and hearing. Most of Nanjing City was in ruins. Most of the houses there had either collapsed or turned into crumbs like biscuit crumbs. Only a few buildings remained the same as they were 1,000 years ago. Nanjing City's Jianya Senior High School was one of them. Why did Guhan know the name of this building? It was very simple. It was written on the school's signboard. As expected of a gold-stamped signboard, one could still see the words on the school gate even after 1,000 years had passed. Guhan carried Jiu Yun with one hand while Qingpin, who was wrapped in Guhan's shirt, sat in his chest pocket. He sighed as he looked at the school that was still standing. I've read some of the documents that were left behind. I've often seen people criticizing China's education system before the apocalypse. However, looking at this scene, all the high-rise buildings that should have collapsed have collapsed. Only this school is still standing. From this, it can be seen that the documents are not entirely trustworthy. Is that so? Misaka Mikoto looked up and down at the school that was still in good condition. She sighed in her heart. I thought I'd never come back to school again. Who would have thought that I'd have to live in school again? I wonder what will happen to Changpantai after I'm gone. Is Ms. Misaka's school? Guhan recalled Misaka Mikoto's badge and the word Chang behind it. Could that be Changpantai's school badge? That's right. Until I left my world, I was still a student at Dachangantai. I've fought millions of times, but I'm not even a third-year junior high school student. Misaka Mikoto could not help but laugh. Indeed, she had fought her way through the entire world, but she was still a second-year junior high school student in Huaxia. It's a pity that this school only has high schools. It doesn't have a junior high school like yours. Otherwise, you can experience what a junior high school in Huaxia is like. Ji Yuhan walked out of the janitor's office at the entrance of the school. He was holding a grey school brochure in his hand. This was the best preserved brochure that Guhan could find. The rest of the brochure had either turned into a pile of ashes or lost all of its colors, leaving only a crisp, thin piece of paper. That's great. It's been more than 1,000 years and I've never been to a high school. It's a good opportunity for me to see what a high school looks like. It'll fulfill one of my wishes. Misaka Mikoto said expectantly. It was obvious that she was speaking from the bottom of her heart. All right, let's take a look together. I'll also clear the entire high school of zombies so that they won't ambush us when we set up camp. Guhan nodded and accompanied Misaka Mikoto to tour Nanjing Jianya Senior High School. There was not much to see in Nanjing Jianya Senior High School. Similar to most high schools, it had a standard school building, field, laboratory building, cafeteria, and dormitories. It was not an outstanding school. Although the school's equipment was well preserved, almost everything would shatter at the slightest touch. For example, the blackboard in the classroom of Year 2. With just a light touch from Guhan, black dust fell from the blackboard as if it was snowing. In the end, the blackboard turned into a whiteboard. It was quite a comical sight. There were also some language and mathematics textbooks on the desks, as well as various reference books for simulation exercises. However, when Ji Yuhan's hands touched them, the entire desks instantly collapsed like sand sculptures. As for the chemistry laboratory, the best preserved items were the glass bottles. Glass was an extremely tough material under normal circumstances. Not to mention 1,000 years, it could even preserve glass from 10 million years ago. Therefore, the only things preserved in the chemistry laboratory were the glass bottles that contained various solutions. Misaka Mikoto curiously picked up a glass bottle labeled concentrated sulfuric acid. She opened the bottle cap and sniffed it. However, she did not find the pungent smell that acid should have. In the end, she poured a little on Guhan's hand. In the end, nothing happened to Guhan's hand. It seemed that even concentrated sulfuric acid had become an ordinary liquid after 1,000 years. Misaka Mikoto toured the entire school with great interest. What surprised Guhan was that there were no skeletons of students in the school. In other words, the students of this school had evacuated in an orderly manner during the apocalypse. The principal of this school was an extremely capable person. He was able to evacuate all the students in such a chaotic environment. Unfortunately, the principal did not know that Nanjing was not the only one under attack. The whole world was under attack. There was no safe place on Earth for them to evacuate. What they were doing was just a futile struggle. It was unknown how many of these students would survive in the end. Not only were there no skeletons of students in this school, but there was also no sign of Yuan Ku. Guhan and Misaka Mikoto walked through a few buildings but did not find any trace of Yuan Ku. In fact, along the way, other than the 100 zombies at the beginning, Ji Yuhan rarely encountered a group of zombies. The zombies in the entire Jianya district could be considered rare. He didn't know what the situation was like in the neighboring Yuhuatai district. It would be great if it was the same as Jianya district. After walking through the entire school, the sun gradually set. Guhan chose the second floor of a dormitory as his campsite. He chose this place because the dormitory looked very sturdy and there was no danger of it collapsing in a short period of time. Most importantly, the beds in the dormitory were made of pear wood. As long as the furniture was not placed in an environment that was prone to corrosion, it would maintain its original hardness even after thousands of years. Therefore, the wooden beds could still be used after a simple cleaning. Guhan could then experience the feeling of a wooden bed from 1,000 years ago. However, the dormitory's bed was made of pear wood. Our Chinese school's style is not like this. N years later, Guhan found out by chance that this building was a product of the 1950s. He could not help but lament that the people of that era were really realistic. After settling down at the campsite, he used a simple sword aura to clean up all the dust. Guhan found a spacious place and set up his tent. He used the bathroom inside to bathe Qingpin. Qingpin, the little rascal, kept feeling that there was a stench on his body. Guhan washed him a few times, but it was not enough to satisfy him. Guhan cleaned up the bathroom for a long time. Misaka Mikoto had nothing to do in the dormitory that she had chosen. She carefully looked around the dormitory. Then, she found a small label on a wooden bed. It must have been pasted by the owner of the bed. Misaka Mikoto took a closer look at it and found the name Jiyu Xuanwu written on it. Jiyu Xuanwu. What a familiar name. Misaka Mikoto was stunned when she saw the name. Then, a person appeared in her mind. This can't be his bed, right? Misaka Mikoto had a strange expression on her face. She did not know what relationship she had with Jiyu Xuanwu. Chapter 464. Misaka Mikoto wiped the paper forcefully and the name that was written in black ink was completely erased. After 1,000 years, the words were just remnants on the paper. After Misaka Mikoto erased Jiyu Xuanwu's name, she continued to rummage through the bed to see if she could find anything else. Misaka Mikoto managed to find something interesting in the seams of the bed. This was a full-color book, and it seemed to be made of high-quality double-sided copperplate paper. Each page was about 2 millimeters thick in his hand. The paper was expensive, but it could withstand the ravages of time. For example, now that 1,000 years had passed, the cover of the book was still bright in color, as if it had just been produced. Why does the person on the cover look so familiar? Misaka Mikoto wiped the dust off the cover of the full-color booklet and realized that the cover of the booklet looked very familiar. This was an anime book. It was drawn with two young girls hugging each other face to face. They even used a very strange angle to expose their little white panties. Logically speaking, wasn't this angle a little too unscientific? The dress obviously violated Newton's first law. I feel like I've seen these two people somewhere before. Misaka Mikoto realized that the cover of the booklet was written in Japanese instead of Chinese. Moreover, there was a big R18 stamp on the bottom right corner of the cover. That meant that anyone below the age of 18 was not allowed to buy or read the booklet. It was obvious that Misaka Mikoto knew what was inside the full-color booklet when she saw the big mark. It was nothing more than some filthy story in a booklet. It was not like Misaka Mikoto had never encountered such things before. Misaka Mikoto was only 14 years old when she left that world. Theoretically, she was not allowed to come into contact with such things. Of course, Misaka Mikoto would not buy such shameful things. However, Misaka Mikoto had a pervert by her side. That pervert would often keep these booklets on his bed. Over time, Misaka Mikoto learned what the booklet was. Under normal circumstances, Misaka Mikoto would not even look at such things. However, the two young girls on the cover were too familiar. Misaka Mikoto was very interested in the content of the booklet. Love and Desire Sisters. This is a Yui book. Misaka Mikoto looked at the name on the cover. It took her a lot of effort to remember what the Japanese word meant. The Freedom Metropolis was made up mainly of Huaxians. Naturally, the official language was Mandarin. It had been a few hundred years since Misaka Mikoto had seen Japanese. She was not used to seeing the familiar Japanese again. I'll just look at the first page and see the name of the owner of the booklet. Misaka Mikoto comforted herself as she carefully flipped to the first page of the notebook. Chu-chun, early in the morning. The first scene on the first page was a scene of a girl lifting up another girl's skirt. However, the two girls were not the girls on the cover. Oh, it's also a very energetic fan's panty today. Wait. Why do I feel like I've seen this scene somewhere before? Misaka Mikoto had an ominous feeling after reading the first page of the manga. The scene was too familiar. The two people in the manga were slowly matching up with the figures in her memory. Next was the second panel. Chu-chun, whose skirt was lifted, went to complain to the girl on the cover who had her hair tied in two ponytails and two bow ties. The girl immediately patted her chest and promised Chu-chun that she had a way to deal with the girl who lifted her skirt. She could leave everything to her. The next day, the girl came to lift up Chu-chun's skirt again. But when she did, she was stunned. She covered her mouth and said in disbelief, "Chu-chun, you're Your panties. Ha 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 ha. At this time, the ponytailed girl jumped out with a pair of panties in her hand and laughed. Lazy, Chu-chun told me that she doesn't like others to see her panties, so I helped her take them off. Aren't I very smart? Ha 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 ha. Bastard. Pervert. Misaka Mikoto threw the book that had been passed down for 1,000 years on the ground after reading that page. Her face was as red as a monkey's butt. Misaka Mikoto would be a complete idiot if she could not guess whose notebook this belonged to when the names Chu-chun and Lei-zi were placed together. This notebook belonged to Misaka Mikoto. She was actually reading her own notebook. Oh my god. Misaka Mikoto was so embarrassed that she was about to collapse. Misaka Mikoto felt that the characters on the cover looked familiar at first due to the childish style of the manga and the fact that Misaka Mikoto had subconsciously excluded herself from it. She did not expect it to be her. Now that Chu-chun and Tae's names had been pointed out, if Misaka Mikoto still could not tell that the two young girls on the cover were her and Kuroko, then Misaka Mikoto would. Sorry, Misaka Mikoto did not know how to describe her feelings. What should she do to express herself? I'm going to tear this book apart. This book must not be left in this world. After Misaka Mikoto threw the book away, she immediately picked it up again. She planned to dismember it and find a place to burn it. From then on, she would get rid of the evidence. However, when Misaka Mikoto picked up the book, she could not help but stop herself from tearing it apart. She had only read one page, and there were at least 10 more pages at the end of the book. What was the plot after that? She did not appear on the first page. It seemed that this was most likely Chu-chun, Tae's, and Kuroko's book. I'm looking at my friends' books for their own good. Misaka Mikoto persuaded herself as she slowly opened the second page of the book with trembling hands. Misaka Mikoto was too naive. Or rather, she was deceiving herself. Think about it. Which of the super electromagnetic guns books did not have sister canon in their guild? Moreover, Misaka Mikoto was clearly drawn on the cover of the book. As expected, the plot on the second page took a 180-degree turn. Misaka Mikoto appeared on the screen with her hands cuffed. Ha ha ha, sister, you've finally become my slave. I'm going to have you today. Are you kidding me? How could I possibly be cuffed by a pair of handcuffs? I'm a level 5 super electromagnetic gun. Just a little bit of electricity can destroy these handcuffs. Does this author have any basic scientific knowledge? Misaka Mikoto could not help but complain when she saw the plot. However, Kuroko took the initiative to explain. It turned out that it was a solar storm, or alignment of the 9 stars, and a series of strange coincidences that led to the day when all the people with superpowers lost their superpowers. For the entire day, all the people with superpowers could not use their superpowers. Are you kidding me? I've been in that world for so many years. Why haven't I heard of such a strange day? Misaka Mikoto continued to complain. Unfortunately, her complaints did not change anything. The plot of the book progressed quickly. Kuroko, who had Misaka Mikoto under control, naturally did a lot of things that the author, Jun-wo, could not write. Logically speaking, when Misaka Mikoto saw herself naked on the book, she should have torn the book to shreds. However, unexpectedly, Misaka Mikoto continued to read. Her forehead was covered in sweat, and her skin was dyed pink. The insulated swimsuit between her legs was slightly damp. However, that did not stop Misaka Mikoto from reading. She was very serious about it. She almost took out a pen and a notebook to take notes. This is too shameful. Misaka Mikoto finally finished reading the last page. The ending was, of course, a delightful one. Half of the page was covered in white liquid with Misaka Mikoto and Misaka Mikoto. She did not know what was in the author's head. How did the two girls end up with white liquid when they were having a good time together? No one knew how they felt when they read their own full-color book. However, they had reason to believe that Misaka Mikoto knew how it felt from that day onwards. This filthy thing. Misaka Mikoto was a typical person who scolded the chef after eating and scolded the author after reading the book. This filthy thing shouldn't exist in this world. I'm going to destroy it completely. Misaka Mikoto carefully poked her head out and looked at her surroundings. When she realized that there was nothing out of the ordinary, she immediately prepared to tear the book to shreds. However, at that moment, the sound of Guhan's footsteps and Qingpin's childish voice could be heard coming from the door. "Damn it, I don't have time to tear the book." Misaka Mikoto was shocked. She did not care about shredding the book anymore. She grabbed the book and threw it out of the window. That was close. "That's great." Misaka Mikoto let out a long sigh of relief. However, she did not expect to hear Guhan's gentle voice the next moment. "Miss Misaka, you dropped something. Fortunately, I was quick enough to pick it up for you." Chapter 465. Misaka Mikoto did not know how she spent the rest of the night. Ever since the book fell into Guhan's hands, she did not face Guhan. She lay on the bed alone, facing the wall as if she was reflecting on her mistakes. Guhan cooperated and did not say a word. It was as if he had never seen the book. Misaka Mikoto let out a long sigh of relief. If Guhan had said a single word about the book, Misaka Mikoto would have had the urge to kill herself. However, Guhan being tactful did not mean that Qingpin would be the same. Although Qingpin was small, his eyes were very sharp. He saw through the content of the book and asked cutely, "Guhan, why is the lady in the book not wearing any clothes? How will he explain it?" Misaka Mikoto's heart tightened when she heard Qingpin's question. She secretly guessed, will he be like my mother and tell me that it's something that kids don't need to know? It's art. She did not expect Guhan to come up with such an answer. Art doesn't wear clothes. Long Xiaoya was lying on her mother's bed, happily watching the television. It was a drama about the great epic story of Zhetian Zhendi. In the drama, the handsome and elegant Zhetian Zhendi was stuck between his female comrades and the young mistress of the Zhendi family. They all hoped that she could become Zhetian Zhendi's wife, even if Zhetian Zhendi was just a lowly sword wielder. It's so good. This drama is so realistic. Long Xiaoya subconsciously brought herself into the drama and imagined herself as the female lead in the drama. It's impossible for me to become the young mistress. At most, I'll become Zhetian's comrade. But this is also quite good. Missy is all a green tea bitch. Only comrades in arms are the ones destined for me. Long Xiaoya thought happily, as if she had really become Zhetian Zhendi's comrade in arms. Sigh, it's a pity that I'm a pureblood. I won't be able to become a sword wielder in my lifetime. Long Xiaoya's excitement immediately died down when she thought of her aptitude. She gritted her teeth and warned herself very seriously, Long Xiaoya, even if we can't be comrades, it's the same to be friends with benefits. As long as you can become Guhan's friend and attract Guhan firmly, even if you can't become Zhendi's queen, you can still live a luxurious life without worries. You can do it. Just as Long Xiaoya was secretly encouraging herself, the sound of the door opening suddenly sounded. Long Xiaoya quickly turned off the TV and then lay under the quilt. She pretended to be in pain and turned into a poor child with an injured leg. When I opened the door, I heard the sound of the TV. Why are you still pretending here? She didn't expect Wen Maiyun to expose Long Xiaoya's act as soon as she entered the door. Mom, my leg was hurting badly just now. I could only watch TV to divert my attention, Long Xiaoya explained hurriedly. All right, I've asked the doctor. The doctor said that your leg has already healed. You don't have to pretend anymore. Wen Maiyun completely exposed Long Xiaoya's trick. Long Xiaoya's face turned green and purple. Xiaoya, listen to me. Xiao Ya, listen to me. Mom doesn't want to chase you away, but it's best if you don't stay here anymore. I'll send you to a hostel near the neighborhood. I know you don't like your Aunt Guogua's place. Mom has saved some money these few months, so I can still support the expenses of the hostel. Although the conditions there aren't as good as here, it's still a very good place. You can move there tomorrow. Mom, why did you suddenly chase Xiaoya away? Is Xiaoya an eyesore to you? Hearing her mother suddenly say such words, Long Xiaoya was stunned. She lived here and had food, drinks, a big screen TV, and an even bigger bath. She really didn't want to leave here. Even if she went to live in a hostel, it was a small place that was less than 10 square meters. Besides the TV and a bed, there was nothing else. How could she live there? It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. It's not that I want to chase you away, but this is not a place where you should stay. When Mayun said very firmly, "This is the master's home. The master took pity on your body and agreed to let you live here. Now that your leg has recovered, it's time for you to leave. You don't need to say anything else. Have a good rest tonight. Tomorrow, I'll send you to the hostel." "Mom, that doctor isn't me. How would he know whether my leg hurts or not? He's just talking nonsense based on a bunch of data." Long Xiaoya hurriedly pulled when Mayun's arm. "Mom, I remember you said that I can stay here until the master returns. Why are you chasing me out now? Could it be that the master has already returned?" "What master?" Hearing Long Xiaoya's words, when Mayun's face stiffened. "That's my master, not your master. I don't allow you to call him that. You have to call him Master Guhan. Do you understand?" When Mayun was very concerned about Long Xiaoya calling him master. She definitely didn't want her daughter to be like her, calling another man master. "Sorry Mom, I spoke too fast. It's Master Guhan." Long Xiaoya hurriedly changed her tone. "Mom, what exactly happened? Tell me, maybe I can help you. This is not something a child like you should be concerned about. Your main task now is to study. When you recover, go back to school to study and become a scientist in the future. Then, I won't have wasted my entire life raising you." When Mayun touched Long Xiaoya's head and said painfully, it could be seen that she actually didn't want to be an exclusive maid, but for her daughter, she didn't have the right to choose her own life. "Mom, just tell me that you've always been taking care of me and helping me do so many things. Now, are you not willing to give me a chance to repay you, Mom?" Long Xiaoya said affectionately. "Mom, if you have any difficulties, the two of us can figure it out together. It's better than you bearing it alone. If you always hide things from your daughter, then what's the point of being a daughter? We're mother and daughter. Shouldn't a mother and daughter be connected and share the burden?" "Mom." When Mayun was a soft-hearted person, she couldn't stand her daughter's affectionate persuasion. After hesitating for a while, she finally said what was on her mind. Just now, Mom met Master Song Ifei from next door. She went on a mission with Master and is his good friend. She just told Mom that Master is now outside Yuzhong City and didn't come back with her. Although she assured Mother that Master had only gone to carry out an additional mission, it has been shown in dramas before. These are just lies that they told us because they were afraid that we would be worried. Master might have already been sacrificed. Speaking up to this point, when Mayun's eyes began to fill with tears. Long Xiaoya was also dumbfounded when she heard this. Long Xiaoya's hopes for her future were currently all hanging on Ji Yuhan. If Ji Yuhan died, how would she be able to climb up the social ladder and live a life of luxury? Mommy won't. Master is so powerful, and he even synchronized with the #1 sword artifact, Lady Etienne. Master will be fine. Even if something happens, Song Ifei will die first. How could Master die first? Long Xiaoya tried to explain. Master is a very good person. Although he seems very cold to everyone on the surface, he's actually a kind person. How could he watch his friends die? If they really met with danger, the first to fall would definitely be Master. When Mayun ignored the fact that Long Xiaoya called him Master again. "Xiaoya, listen to Mom. If Master is fine, then everything will be fine and we can still live in peace. But if something really happens to Master, then it's over. Master is an orphan and has no relatives. His house will immediately be taken back by the Sword Committee. Mom will also be chased back to the maid center and can't stay here anymore. So, you have to leave here tomorrow. Otherwise, when the people from the Sword Committee come to take back the property and inspect the property, once they find you here, and you sneaked into the core area, you will definitely be driven out of the core area. Who knows when the attack will come? Xiao, if you leave the core area, you will die." After talking for a long time, it turned out that when Mayun chased Long Xiaoya away because she was afraid that the Sword Committee would find out that Long Xiaoya was living in the core area. Although Long Xiaoya was studying in the core area, she said that she was not a student in the core area. This meant that Long Xiaoya lived in the normal area and only went to the core area to attend classes every day. So, Long Xiaoya living in the core area was definitely illegal. Once this was discovered by the Sword Committee, Long Xiaoya would definitely be chased out of the core area. She might even lose her right to attend classes. This was something that Wen Maiyun could not accept. So, Long Xiaoya had to leave Guhan's house and find a secluded place to stay. Okay, Mom, I'm leaving. I can't wait for tomorrow, I'm leaving today. After hearing Wen Maiyun's words, Long Xiaoya made a prompt decision and jumped out of bed. Her legs were fine, and she started to pack her things. Compared to leaving Guhan's house, leaving the core area was even more terrifying. From this, it could be seen that Long Xiaoya was actually a very powerful woman. She was not an adult yet, and there were so many benefits to living in Guhan's house. However, once she realized that there were risks that she could not control, she immediately gave up these benefits. This kind of decision was something that many adult men could not do. I have to think of a way to tie Mom and Guhan together. Even if Guhan dies, this house is still my mom's. I can't be chased out like this. Long Xiaoya thought to herself as she carried her luggage and walked with Wen Maiyun to the guest house. Mom, let me help you. I also want to have a younger brother and sister. According to the rules of the Sword Committee, if the maid and the sacrificed swordsman had an underage child, then the maid could become a member of the swordsman's family. Not only would she not have to move out, she could also enjoy the special allowance of the Sword Committee every month. She could raise the child until he was an adult. When Long Xiaoya said that she wanted to help her mother, it went without saying what she wanted to do. Chapter 466. It was probably Misaka Mikoto's worst night of sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, images of her notebook would appear in her mind. Misaka Mikoto was extremely embarrassed. She only managed to fall asleep when it was almost 5 o'clock in the morning. However, she was woken up by Guhan before it was even 7 o'clock. Please wake up, Ms. Misaka. We're about to depart. When Guhan woke Misaka Mikoto up, he was fully dressed. Misaka Mikoto, on the other hand, had messy hair and dark circles around her eyes. She wrapped herself tightly with a blanket. Idiot, idiot, pervert. You're not allowed to wake me up until the sun shines on my butt. Misaka Mikoto said in a daze. She did not seem to notice her condition and subconsciously treated the place as her own home. Ms. Misaka, the sun has just risen. It's the time when the zombies are the least active. It's also the best time for us to rush to Rainflower Terrace to heal you. Please wake up. We still have to hurry. Guhan advised patiently. What's the hurry? It doesn't matter where we are if there's no thunder. Wake me up when there's thunder. Misaka Mikoto mumbled to herself. However, Ji Han was puzzled by her words. What did she mean by it's useless if there's no thunder? Misaka Mikoto never told me that I have to wait for a thunderstorm to heal her. Guhan was anxious. He could not care less about etiquette. He immediately lifted the blanket that was covering Misaka Mikoto's body. It was as if he had been electrocuted. His body trembled and he immediately covered himself with the blanket again. Ji Han was shocked. He did not expect that Misaka Mikoto was not wearing anything under the blanket. She was sleeping naked under it. Tens of thousands of volts hit Guhan's body. Fortunately, Guhan had a strong physique. Otherwise, he would have been electrocuted to death by Misaka Mikoto. As the blanket was opened and closed, a gust of cold wind blew in. Misaka Mikoto's body turned cold. She shivered and woke up from her sleepiness. What are you doing? Even if you are my savior, I will not let you off. Misaka Mikoto was on the verge of tears. What's going on? Even that idiot hasn't seen my body, but Guhan has seen it. It was Guhan's second time seeing Misaka Mikoto's nude body. The first time was when he rescued Misaka Mikoto. To cover it up, Guhan had arranged for the 3 Egyptian gods to put on a show with him. Who would have thought that he had miscalculated? He had seen Misaka Mikoto's naked body in front of her. Why aren't you wearing that swimsuit? Guhan said dryly. I thought you were wearing a swimsuit. Do you sleep in a swimsuit? Or the conjoined kind? Misaka Mikoto hugged her blanket and glared at Guhan. Who can sleep in a swimsuit? Sorry, it's all my fault. Guhan had no choice but to admit defeat. He still needed Misaka Mikoto and her friends' help to save Yuzhang City. Misaka Mikoto's friends who had been threatened by Loki were either U-level Yuan-ku or Meteor-level Yuan-ku. Their combined strength was on par with Yuzhang City's higher-ups. Only if Misaka Mikoto's friends joined Yuzhang City's camp would they be able to break through Miling Mountain's defense and obtain the creator's divinity or banish it back into the void. Therefore, Guhan could not afford to fall out with Misaka Mikoto. I understand. Since you saved my life, I will pretend that this never happened. Misaka Mikoto looked at Guhan with a serious expression. Remember, you must not tell anyone about this. Otherwise, even if you saved my life, I will still kill you. Believe me, my hands are stained with blood. Guhan understands. Guhan let out a sigh of relief. The matter was finally over. Very well. Then don't disturb me anymore. Let me sleep for a while more. Don't disturb me anymore. Misaka Mikoto waved her hand and gestured for Guhan to leave. Guhan instinctively wanted to follow Misaka Mikoto's instruction. However, he thought about it and realized that it was not right. Did he forget something? What did Misaka Mikoto mean by lightning? Ms. Misaka, may I know what you meant when you said that it's useless even if there's lightning? Guhan asked casually. Oh, it's nothing. I was just sleep-talking. Misaka Mikoto said nonchalantly. When it was almost noon, Misaka Mikoto, who had caught up on her sleep, finally put on her clothes and got out of bed. However, she did not wear her insulated swimsuit. Instead, she wore the teddy bear pajamas that Guhan gave her. The pajamas were originally prepared for Yi Tian. It looked baggy on Misaka Mikoto. I'll return this to you. Misaka Mikoto folded the swimsuit and returned it to Guhan. Why aren't you wearing it anymore? Are you able to control the electricity on your body? Guhan asked curiously. Same old. Don't touch me now. You deserve to die from the electricity. Misaka Mikoto glared at Guhan. She seemed to be still angry at him for exposing her naked body earlier. Previously, I wore this swimsuit because I was afraid that I would accidentally touch you when I was passing by. But I think it's better for us to keep a certain distance. Misaka Mikoto rolled her eyes. According to what you said, we're going to pass through the Rainflower Terrace area that's full of Yuan-ku. The electricity on my body should be of some help to you. At the very least, it should be able to roast the zombies that want to touch me into charcoal. It might even be able to help you. You don't have to wear this swimsuit. Sure, you're right. Guhan nodded. Misaka Mikoto was right. The electricity on her body was actually a good weapon. It was a pity that it was restricted by the insulated swimsuit. Don't the zombies feel crowded? Ji Han and Misaka Mikoto were hiding in a bush that was once marked as Fengtai South Road on the map. Now, not even a single piece of concrete could be seen. Ji Han and Misaka Mikoto were hiding in the bushes. Opposite them was Yuhuatai District. At the highest point of the foothills in the middle of Yuhuatai District was their final destination, Yuhuatai Martyrs Memorial Square. Misaka Mikoto told Guhan that he had to be under the monument in order to have a chance to heal himself. Fengtai South Road, which used to separate Janya District and Rainflower Terrace, was still divided into two areas. One was an area with very few zombies, and the other was an area with zombies that were as dense as ants. Ji Han didn't think that the zombies in the Rainflower Terrace district would be so densely packed. These zombies were like corn kernels squeezed together. Within a square meter area, there were actually 7 or 8 zombies squeezed together. With such a densely packed degree, even the buses that were packed with people every day couldn't compare to it. Ms. Misaka, you're very knowledgeable and have lived for a long time. May I ask if you've ever seen a situation like this? Why are Yuan-ku squeezed together like this? Even though Guhan had browsed through countless materials, he had never imagined that he would see such a scene. Even the beast-like Yuan-ku would not be squeezed together like this. It was common knowledge among all creatures. No, I've never seen a situation like this. It's too strange. Misaka Mikoto shook her head. She was also confused about the situation. These Yuan-ku seemed to be restrained by some kind of force. Or is there an invisible transparent wall outside the Rainflower Terrace area that's keeping the zombies inside the wall? Misaka Mikoto made a reasonable guess. No, look at the hands of the outermost Yuan-ku. Although their bodies are confined to a certain area, their hands are not. If there's really a wall restraining them, do you think their hands can reach out? Guhan observed one last time. Don't you think that they're being controlled by something? Controlled? You're saying that these zombies are being controlled by something similar to the hummingbird? Misaka Mikoto exclaimed. That's right. Look at these zombies. If they're being forced to stay in this circle, they should be very agitated and will do all kinds of things to escape. However, in reality, they are extremely calm and do not show any signs of trying to break free. This means that it is very likely that they gathered here of their own volition. They were ordered by some high-level being, or their thoughts were simply controlled. This kind of ability is not uncommon among you Yuan-hu. I don't know, but I think that's the case. Misaka Mikoto nodded. After being enlightened by Guhan, the more she looked at it, the more she felt that it made sense. Forget it. No matter what these zombies are doing, we have to enter the Rainflower Terrace. There's only one way to get in. That's to kill our way out. Guhan unsheathed the heavenly sword and released it. He then held the Duyu sword in his hand and entered his strongest combat state. Heavenly sword, you'll be responsible for opening the path. I'll be responsible for bringing up the rear. Ms. Misaka, you'll stay in the middle. Even if all the Yuan-ku are here, I'll kill my way out for you. Chapter 467. In the past, when Guhan was idle, he would simulate his own battle scenes in his mind countless times, simulating the scene of him falling into a bitter battle. For example, fighting against Yuan-ku who was a level higher than him, or fighting in a place full of traps, or fighting against a group of evenly matched opponents. No matter what the situation was, the opponent in Guhan's illusion was at least an equal opponent to Yuan-ku. Guhan had never thought that there would be a day when he would be forced into such a situation by a group of mice-level Yuan-ku who were 1 level lower than him, 3 levels lower than him. Too many. The number was really too many. Guhan had officially launched his attack on the Rainflower Terrace district for more than half an hour. In this half an hour, Guhan might not even be able to advance 300 meters. Every time Guhan killed a zombie, there would be 2 zombies taking over the position of the previous zombie. Only by continuously killing could he barely have enough space to stand. Fortunately, these zombie corpses of Yuan-ku would be absorbed by the dimensional vortex after they died. Otherwise, Guhan reckoned that the number of corpses under his feet could circle the Earth 5 times. However, this large-scale dimensional vortex had already existed by Guhan's side for about half an hour. Because there was an endless stream of Yuan-ku zombies dying, the dimensional vortex also continuously absorbed these Yuan-ku corpses. There was not even a gap of a few seconds in between, so this dimensional vortex had not disappeared. This was a very rare situation. The sword-bearers called this situation an iron vortex, meaning that this dimensional vortex was like an iron vortex and would not disappear. If the vortex lasted for more than 5 hours, then it could be called a silver vortex. If it lasted for more than a day, then it would be called a gold vortex. This type of dimensional vortex usually only appeared during large-scale battles between humans and Yuan-ku. It rarely appeared at other times. Where could they find so many Yuan-ku that belonged to the same world as the sword-bearers in a few seconds? After all, it was very rare for someone like Guhan to encounter so many mice-level Yuan-ku at once and still rush to his death. Guhan estimated that in just half an hour, he and Yi Tian had killed no less than 3,000 zombies. However, the number of 3,000 was just a drop in the bucket for the Yuan-ku that covered the entire Rainflower Terrace district. Guhan, we can't continue fighting like this. Otherwise, we won't be able to reach the Rainflower Terrace Martyrs Monument before nightfall. Misaka Mikoto also joined the battle. Her fighting style was very simple. All she had to do was use her hands to slap the zombies in front of her. Needless to say, the effect of the battle was very good. This was because the zombies' bodies were covered in all kinds of decomposing corpse fluid. Corpse fluid was the best conductor. Misaka Mikoto's strong electric current only needed to touch a zombie for a few seconds before it would be charred black. Then, it would be absorbed by the dimensional vortex. The electric current was surprisingly effective against zombies. I know, but my sword mistresses are single-target combat. They don't have the ability to attack in groups. Regarding this, Guhan felt a little helpless. Whether it was Qingpin, Duyu, or Yi Tian, they were all one-on-one skills that were suitable for killing monsters that were a higher level than them. When faced with these Yuan Ku that relied on numbers to win, they were helpless. Even if they used their skills, they would still be killed with one slash. It was better for them to save their sword mistresses. Guhan's 9 Swords of Mysterious Heaven had some area of effect skills such as Sword of the Abyss and Sword Formation Break. These were AoE skills that were quite useful in this situation. One slash would be able to kill a large area. The problem was that these skills required a lot of sword mistresses. For example, Sword Formation Break required a total of 1,000 quarks of sword mistresses. The sword mistresses in Guhan's body could only be used 5 times at most. The attack range of Sword Formation Break was only a few hundred meters. On the other hand, the Rainflower Terrace's Monument of the Heroes was a full 5 kilometers away. Moreover, this was in a straight line. To reach the Rainflower Terrace's monument, one would have to climb a mountain. Even if Guhan used up all his sword mistresses, it would not be enough to reach the Rainflower Terrace. Guhan had a feeling that there was a pair of eyes watching him in the dark. Once he used up all his sword mistresses, the eyes would rush out without hesitation and cooperate with the zombies to deal a fatal blow to him. Therefore, Guhan had to keep the sword mistresses in his body just in case. I've had enough of this. If it was me, I could have sent all the corpses on the Rainflower Terrace on their way with a single super electromagnetic break. Misaka Mikoto said as she panted after charring a zombie's head. It was obvious that she was very tired. Misaka Mikoto's body had not fully recovered. If she continued like this, she would probably get new injuries before her old ones were healed. We have to think of a way to escape from these Yuan Ku's encirclement. Otherwise, we'll be dragged to our deaths here. Guhan swung his sword and chopped off 3 connected zombies' heads at the same time. Black liquid splashed all over his body. However, the black liquid was quickly absorbed by the dimensional vortex in the sky. Guhan observed his surroundings as he killed the endless zombies. Then, he saw a building that had not completely collapsed. It was a building that was about 50 stories high. Seeing the building, Guhan had an idea. Yi Tian, don't go directly to the Rainflower Terrace mountain. Change direction and go to that building, Guhan said to Yi Tian, who was leading the way. Okay, I got it. Just like Guhan, Yi Tian's hands were weak from killing Yuan Ku. Although she did not know why Guhan wanted to change his target to the building, based on her understanding of Guhan, Yi Tian knew that as long as she trusted Guhan, he would not be wrong. This small team, surrounded by endless zombies, struggled to move forward bit by bit. Although the building's ruins were less than 30 meters away from Guhan, it still took Guhan almost 5 minutes to slowly move there. Go in. Under Ji Han's command, the 3 of them rushed into the ruins of the building. Just like the outside of the building, the inside of the building was also filled with densely packed zombies. Ji Han looked at the direction of the stairs, and tragically discovered that even the stairs were filled with zombies. Forget it, let's retreat. Guhan's face turned cold. He immediately took back his words and made Yi Tian, who had gone in with great difficulty, retreat. Damn, what are you doing? Are you playing with this heroine? Yi Tian rolled her eyes. Clearly, she was very dissatisfied with Ji Han's decision to go back on his words. We can't use the stairs. I have to find another way to get to the roof. Guhan killed a few zombies with his sword. Then, he used his hand to touch the building's wall. Fortunately, the wall felt quite solid. Yi Tian, can you climb to the roof from here? Guhan suddenly asked. Climb up. Yi Tian looked up at the height of the building. Then, she cut off the head of a ferocious-looking Yuan Ku who was trying to bite her arm. This heroine was omnipotent in the past. I can climb up this small wall. Okay, Ms. Misaka. What about you? Can you climb up? Guhan threw the question to Misaka Mikoto. Misaka Mikoto looked at the 50-story tall wall. She was obviously hesitant. After thinking for a while, she felt that she could not be a burden at such a crucial time. Then, she gritted her teeth and promised, "Yes, I can climb up." "Okay, Yi Tian. Same rules. You go up first and lead the way for us. If there are Yuan Ku on the roof, kill them all." "Got it," Yi Tian said impatiently. Then, he stomped on the ground and leaped 4 meters into the air, directly standing on the window of the second floor. She did not take more than 3 seconds to complete the entire action. Just like what Yi Tian said herself, her climbing action couldn't be described as climbing. She just walked up. The outer wall of the building, which had windows to stand on every few meters, was nothing more than a large staircase for Yi Tian. Throughout the entire process, she did not even need to use her hands. She jumped and jumped like a frog and reached the roof of the ruined building. It took her less than a minute. "Guhan, there are quite a number of Yuan Ku on the roof. However, they are not as dense as the ones below. I can clear them out quickly," Yi Tian, who was on the roof, said to Guhan through the sword mark. "Got it. Thank you for your hard work." Guhan cut off the sword mark communication with Yi Tian. Then, he urged Misaka Mikoto, "Ms. Misaka, it's your turn. Hurry up and climb up. I'll cover you from behind." After saying that, Guhan consumed 100 quarks of sword essence and unleashed a sword of the abyss sword aura. The Yuan Ku were cleanly sliced in half by the sword aura as if they were carrots. An empty space of about 10 square meters was cleared out. This Guhan knows how to use sword aura. Misaka Mikoto was shocked. Among humans, the only person who could wield a sword with sword aura was the sword master. However, Misaka Mikoto did not have time to think about it. Under Guhan's urging, she grabbed onto a protruding object on the wall and started climbing. Misaka Mikoto did not seem to be an expert at climbing walls. Her movements were nervous and jerky. She would look down from time to time and tremble. That was normal. Even though Misaka Mikoto had lived for more than 1,000 years, she was still a complete novice at climbing walls. Fear of heights was something that everyone was born with. Therefore, it was not embarrassing for Misaka Mikoto to not be able to climb up to the 3rd floor even after 5 minutes. She was just a beginner. Unfortunately, Guhan did not have the time to waste on waiting for Misaka Mikoto to climb up the wall. Guhan, who had started climbing behind Misaka Mikoto, took less than half a minute to catch up to her. Seeing that she was dawdling on the wall, Guhan was anxious. "Let me give you a hand." Feeling anxious, Guhan could not help but want to help Misaka Mikoto. Therefore, Guhan, who was below Misaka Mikoto, stretched out his right hand and supported Misaka Mikoto's butt. Guhan's idea was beautiful. He wanted to support Misaka Mikoto up. "Ah!" Misaka Mikoto, who was suddenly attacked in the buttocks, screamed in embarrassment. She was like a female gorilla as she crawled all the way from the 3rd floor to the 5th floor with her hands and feet moving in a blink of an eye. Her speed was comparable to the heavenly sword. Chapter 468. Under the threat of Guhan's demonic hands, Misaka Mikoto unleashed all of her strength. The process of climbing the building's ruins was very smooth. Of course, there were some accidents along the way. For example, she accidentally slipped and fell, and Guhan caught her butt. It happened more than once. It happened 7 or 8 times. Guhan had to keep a close eye on Misaka Mikoto's butt as he climbed up. He had to be ready to catch Misaka Mikoto the moment she slipped. It was quite tiring. Fortunately, everything was over without mishap. Guhan successfully climbed to the top of the building with Misaka Mikoto. Looking down from the top, the zombies were like ants surrounding the building. Some zombies tried to climb up the building like Guhan. However, their coordination was too bad, and they fell before they could climb too high. Most of them tried their best to squeeze into the building and use the building's stairs to reach the top. It's a pity that there were so many sword essences. If I could absorb all of them, I should be able to get up to 1,000 quarks. Guhan recalled the iron vortex that disappeared earlier and felt that it was a pity. That was the iron vortex that absorbed more than 3,000 Yuan Ku. Although these Yuan-ku were the weakest mouse-level Yuan-ku, and there would be a lot of losses when so many of them were gathered together, Guhan could still get more than 1,000 quarks of sword essences. The total sword essences in his body could also exceed 6,000 quarks. Unfortunately, the dimensional vortex was too far away from Guhan. It was impossible for Guhan to move from the wall to the dimensional vortex while being surrounded by Yuan-ku. Guhan could only watch as the dimensional vortex disappeared. Now that he thought about it, Guhan felt that it was a pity. Guhan, what took you so long? My arm is about to break. On the other side, Yi Tian was complaining to Guhan through the sword mark. The building only had a 3-meter-wide door as the entrance to the top floor. Yi Tian was blocking the entrance and eliminating the Yuan-ku that were trying to break in. She was fast, but Misaka Mikoto was very slow. Yi Tian had been blocking the entrance for more than 10 minutes. These Yuan-ku were all mouse-level Yuan-ku. They were trash. Yi Tian did not use much energy and stamina to deal with them. However, her wrist was sore from swinging her sword continuously. That was why she kept complaining to Guhan. Yi Tian, hold on for a little longer. I'll be ready soon. Guhan comforted Yi Tian and immediately took out a hoverbike from his dimensional brocade pouch. It was the hoverbike that Liuonian Ling had lent to Guhan. Misaka Mikoto was puzzled when she saw Guhan taking out a hoverbike. Mr. Guhan, I'm afraid this isn't the time to ride a hoverbike. No, this is the time for it to come in handy. Guhan started the hoverbike and let it hover on the rooftop. He then scanned the rooftop and noticed a few pieces of glass on the rooftop. They were probably leftover materials from the renovation and were abandoned by the owner of the building. As mentioned before, glass was something that could withstand the ravages of time. 1,000 years would not cause much damage to glass. Guhan's eyes lit up when he saw the glass. He immediately moved the glass to the side of the hoverbike. After comparing the pieces of glass with the hoverbike, Lin Huang used the Duyu sword to cut the pieces of glass. What are you doing? Misaka Mikoto did not understand what Guhan was trying to do. Why would he want to cut the glass? Fly. Guhan's answer was simple and to the point, but it made Misaka Mikoto even more confused. What's fly? What does it have to do with glass? However, Guhan's next action allowed Misaka Mikoto to vaguely understand what Guhan was trying to do. Guhan cut the glass into a few rectangles. He then cut the two corners on one end into different arcs. He then thinned one side of the glass and used a uniform curve to transition to the other side that maintained its original thickness, forming a bevel. After that, Guhan placed the cut glass horizontally on the side of the hoverbike. He then took out a bottle of glue-like substance and applied it on the part where the glass was connected to the hoverbike. It looked as if the hoverbike had wings. Wait a minute, the hoverbike has wings. Misaka Mikoto finally understood what was going on. She stared at Ji Han with her mouth agape. You be ****, don't tell me you're trying to turn this hoverbike into an airplane. Is that weird? Guhan raised his head and smiled. Don't worry, I promise I can fly. Misaka Mikoto was speechless. This was the first time she admired someone in her life. She admired how his imagination could be so fresh and refined. Actually, it was nothing. If Misaka Mikoto knew that someone had the experience of using a nuclear bomb as a plane, she would be in awe of him. Are you sure you can glue these glass plates together? Misaka Mikoto could not help but complain when she saw that Ji Han was using something similar to 502 to glue the glass panels together. Of course, this is the latest success of mankind's research, 502. It can deeply bond objects at the molecular level. I only need 5 minutes. I guarantee that this glass plate and this hoverbike will be as strong as a piece of steel, Guhan said confidently. No, I don't think you have 5 minutes left. Misaka Mikoto, who was standing at the edge of the rooftop, stared at the large group of Yuan-ku below. I think we're going to fall from here soon. What's going on? Guhan put down what he was doing and walked to the rooftop to look down. Good lord. Initially, there was an endless sea of zombies that looked exactly the same. Suddenly, there were a few very eye-catching big guys among them. These big guys were real big guys. Each of them was at least 10 meters tall and their bodies were as wide as a bus. What was more terrifying was that they were holding an excavator in their hands. That's right, these zombies were holding excavators in their hands. If Guhan's eyesight was good enough, he could clearly see the words Lanxiang Vocational School written on the excavator. Yes, we can call these zombies excavator zombies or Lanxiang excavator zombies. I was wondering why all the zombies we met along the way were normal Yuan Ku. I thought there weren't any high-level Yuan Ku among them. So they're hiding. Guhan estimated that these excavator zombies were at least soul-level Yuan Ku. They could easily smash an ancient sword wielder to death with the excavator in their hands. Guhan, you better be careful. If I'm not mistaken, these excavator zombies are coming for the building we're standing on. Misaka Mikoto had good eyesight. She could tell the purpose of these excavator zombies at a glance. They want to dig out the load-bearing walls of this building. They want to destroy this building and let us fall to our death. Ji Yuhan was silent. He agreed with what Misaka Mikoto said. That was what the zombies were planning. If the building collapsed, even if he and Misaka Mikoto survived, they would be severely injured. Yi Tian, how's the situation on your side? Guhan asked Yi Tian, who was defending the door on the top floor after thinking for a while. It's not good. These Yuan Ku are still attacking like crazy. I can't rest for even a second. Yi Tian was panting as he spoke. This meant that not only was Yi Tian's hands sore, but his stamina was also greatly depleted. It looks like the group of Yuanying inside the building has been abandoned by their master. Their master is going all out to kill us. He's willing to sacrifice an entire building full of zombies just to kill us. Ji Yuhan said solemnly. You're wrong. This building is built before the apocalypse. There are no dimensional crystals in it. The zombies in this building can't be crushed to death. Misaka Mikoto added. Indeed, normal items would not be able to hurt Yuan Ku. Even if the entire building was on top of a zombie, that zombie would not die. Time. We need time, Guhan muttered. Both of its wings have been glued on. We just need to hold on for another 4 minutes and we'll be able to leave this place. Guhan calculated the time in his heart. 4 minutes sounded like a short time. It was not even enough time to make instant noodles. However, to Guhan, it was a critical time. The excavator zombies were less than a minute away from the building. Once they started digging at the corner of the building, the entire building would be turned into a pile of rubble in less than 30 seconds. Yi Tian, if you jump down from here, will you get hurt? Guhan suddenly asked Yi Tian. We sword ladies are not gods. Of course we'll die if we jump down, Yi Tian said angrily. However, if I jump down along the wall, it won't be a problem. Just like how I came up earlier. All right, Yi Tian, go down now and deal with those excavator Yuan Ku. Kill as many as you can. It's been 5 minutes. We can't let them get close to our building, Guhan immediately ordered. That's enough. Leave all the dangerous missions to me. I'm so unlucky to have to deal with a swordsman like you. Although she kept complaining, Yi Tian's actions made her stand clear. Yi Tian grumbled as she left the entrance of the top floor. She then jumped down from the top floor and began to intercept the excavator Yuan Ku. All right, it's my turn. Without Yi Tian's obstruction, the Yuan Ku immediately swarmed toward the top floor. Guhan did not say a word as he rushed to the entrance and took over Yi Tian's job. However, even though Guhan took over in time, there were still some scattered zombies on the top floor that were heading toward Misaka Mikoto. Ms. Misaka, I'll leave these Yuan Ku to you. You only have one mission and that is to protect our hovercraft. Don't let Yuan Ku destroy it. Please. Chapter 469. Along the way, the heavenly sword kept jumping down along the wall. With the support of the gravitational force, the heavenly sword became unstoppable like a god. Go to hell. In the end, when it was only 3 floors away from the ground, heavenly sword's feet stomped on the wall with force. The wall actually caved in like an iron wark. Borrowing this force, heavenly sword, which was originally moving down the wall in a straight line, instantly turned into a charging state perpendicular to the wall. The target of Heavenly Sword's blade was a huge excavator Yuan Shen. Shandong, China, look for Lanxiang. The excavator Yuan Ku had also noticed the Heavenly Sword's movements. He let out a loud roar, then waved the excavator in his hand and rushed towards the Heavenly Sword. It looked like he was hitting a feather. The excavator was a racket, and the Heavenly Sword was the badminton. Idiot! The Heavenly Sword, which was flying in the air, sneered. In an instant, a wine gourd appeared in its hand, and it directly poured a mouthful of Du Kang wine into its mouth. The Heavenly Sword faintly glowed with a red light. In the next moment, the racket and the badminton collided. The scene of the excavator Yuan Ku being knocked away didn't happen. The moment the Heavenly Sword collided with the excavator, the Heavenly Sword directly pierced through the excavator's steel shell. Then, like a sharp sword, it pierced through the other side of the excavator. As the saying goes, an arrow at the end of its flight can't pierce through silk. It seemed like the Heavenly Sword had pierced through an excavator, so it should be an arrow at the end of its flight, right? However, this arrow at the end of its flight could not only pierce through silk, it could also pierce through the excavator zombie. The Heavenly Sword's blade was very accurate. After piercing through the excavator, the Heavenly Sword in its hand directly pierced the excavator zombie's neck. The excavator Yuan Ku's eyeballs were like balloons that were about to burst, instantly bursting out of their sockets. Then, its entire head was separated from its body. The body that was like a bus instantly fell to the ground, and a dimensional vortex began to appear in the sky. After killing the unlucky Yuan Ku, the Heavenly Sword immediately reported to Guhan, "Guhan, I've killed one. On your left, there's another excavator, Yuan Ku. He's getting close to the building. Kill him." Guhan's new order came from the sword mark. Yi Tian looked at the densely packed ordinary zombies that were trying to stop him. He frowned and said angrily, "It's not like you're down there. That excavator Yuan Ku is more than 100 meters away from me. I'm now surrounded by these Yuan Ku, how can I rush over? Then enter hero mode." Guhan said coldly. "Use your hero mode, and you'll be able to get there quickly." Heroic mode? Yi Tian was stunned for a moment, and then he revealed a trace of a smile. "You're right. I almost forgot that I'm no longer the original Yi Tian." After saying that, Yi Tian cut off the communication with Guhan. The wine gourd appeared in Yi Tian's hand again. However, this time, Yi Tian did not directly pour the wine into his stomach like before. Instead, he grabbed the gourd and forcefully broke it apart. The upper half of the wine gourd actually separated from the lower half, turning into two spherical bowls, one big and one small. A first-rate green plum wine, a first-rate hero. Green plum wine, I've almost forgotten how delicious it is. Yi Tian laughed out loud, and directly poured the wine in the separated gourd into his mouth. Just like that, 1 liter of green plum wine was poured into Yi Tian's mouth. Ha 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 ha. Good wine. Good wine. Yi Tian was like a man from Yangzhou who was singing a sad song, and drank the wine in a heroic manner. Then, something miraculous happened. A vermilion red armor suddenly appeared on Yi Tian's body. This armor was incomparably exquisite, and there were at least 7 huge dragons coiling around the armor in various ways. Their bodies entangled with each other, and the 7 dragon heads bit onto Yi Tian's shoulders, wrists, ankles, and even his entire head. A bright red cloak also extended from his back, and in an instant, Yi Tian's appearance changed from that of a heroine to that of a mighty general on the battlefield. Nay! Before the armor and cloak could even be seen, a snow-white steed with 4 golden hooves and a noble and extraordinary temperament emerged from the ground, and let out a resounding neigh. "Long time no see, Claw Huang Feidian. This time, we're going to fight again." Yi Tian caressed Claw Huang Feidian's neck, and Claw Huang Feidian licked Yi Tian's neck. Yi Tian laughed out loud, and with a confident posture, he leaped onto the horse's back. His posture was majestic, just like Lu Biyu of the 3 Kingdoms, and Yu Wencheng of the Sui and Tang dynasties. This was Yi Tian's heroic form, and also the form that Yi Tian would take after using his ultimate skill. After Guhan had deepened Yi Tian's sword scar to grade 1, Yi Tian's wine gourd was able to brew green plum wine. As long as he drank a mouthful of the wine, Yi Tian would instantly transform into this godly general form, and his battle prowess would increase by more than a few times. This was also the reason why Yi Tian was indisputably the #1 sword mistress of the sword tier. In his heroic form, Yi Tian was simply too strong. Then just how strong was Yi Tian? From Claw Huang Feijian's battle horse, it could be seen vividly and vividly. Claw Huang Feijian let out another neigh, and spread out his 4 hooves, and quickly ran. Strange, didn't they say that this place was already filled with zombies? How could this Claw Huang Feijian run so fast? Everyone's textbooks should have a text about horses stepping on swallows. When a horse's speed was fast enough, even swallows in the sky could be stepped on, let alone these zombies' head. That's right, Claw Huang Feijian directly stepped on these zombies' heads to run. As long as there was a little bit of leverage, Claw Huang Feijian would be able to maintain his hovering state, and run over these zombies' heads. The denser the zombies were, the easier it was for Claw Huang Feijian to run, as if he was running on a highway. As Yi Tian's next target, this excavator zombie was less than 10 meters away from the building. As long as it took 2 steps forward and raised the excavator in its hands, it would be able to smash the entire building into ashes. Unfortunately, it would no longer have this chance. Yi Tian appeared beside this excavator zombie like a god. Claw Huang Feijian let out a roar, and then forcefully stepped down. For normal zombies' heads that were used as leverage were immediately crushed into smashed watermelons. Using this force, Claw Huang Feijian jumped more than 20 meters high, and appeared above the excavator Yuan Ku. Carrying Yi Tian on her back, she directly jumped down from Claw Huang Feijian's body, and steadily landed on top of the excavator Yuan Ku's head. Then, the heavenly sword in her hands stabbed downwards, and with a twist, the excavator Yuan Ku's head instantly exploded like a bomb. In her heroic state, Yi Tian had the super strong ability to ignore the enemy's defense and 1000% attack power. With the addition of the yin-yang sword technique, the Duyu sword's attack power, Yi Tian only needed 1 slash to instantly kill this soul-level Yuan Ku, who was at the same level as her. Lulu. After Yi Tian killed Yuan Ku, Claw Huang Feijian came to Yi Tian's side. Yi Tian lightly leaped onto the horse's back, and then rushed towards the next target. 6 seconds left. The heroic state lasted for 10 seconds. Although a lot of words were used to describe the process of Yi Tian killing the second excavator Yuan Ku, in reality, it only took 4 seconds. There were still 2 excavator Yuan Ku left, and within these 6 seconds, Yi Tian had to at least kill the one closest to the building. Guhan, where is the excavator Yuan Ku? I can't see him. I only have 6 seconds left, hurry up and tell me, where is Yuan Ku? Yi Tian anxiously said to Guhan. Ms. Misaka, where is the excavator closest to us, Yuan Ku? Guhan wanted to stop the zombies that came in from the top floor, and since he could not move, he could only ask Misaka Mikoto to check. Got it. Misaka Mikoto knocked out the Yuan Ku next to her with a slap, and then rushed to the top floor. She took a look and immediately shouted, "He's on the west side, directly opposite Yi Tian on the west side." Guhan immediately notified Yi Tian of the excavator Yuan Ku's location. However, 3 seconds had passed out of the 6 seconds, and there were only 3 seconds left. Go. Yi Tian's mind moved, and Claw Huang Feijian immediately understood and ran toward the other side of the building. Unfortunately, as he had to go around the entire building, the distance was too long. Even though Claw Huang Feijian ran like lightning, he still could not reach the excavator Yuan Ku. When he was about 100 meters away from the excavator, Claw Huang Feijian let out a cry, and then disappeared together with Yi Tian's armor. Damn it! Without Claw Huang Feijian running on the zombies' heads, Yi Tian immediately fell into the group of zombies, and was once again surrounded by the zombies. All of you, die! Yi Tian was like a high-speed spinning top, madly killing the zombies in the group of zombies. Step by step, it killed the excavator zombie. However, the rest of the zombies rushed forward regardless of their own safety, using their bodies to slow down Yi Tian's movement speed. This was a competition of speed. If Yi Tian could reach the excavator zombie first, then it would be Yi Tian's victory. Unfortunately, Yi Tian lost this competition. The excavator zombie was the first to reach the ruins of the building, and then directly smashed an excavator into the wall of the building. Boom! A loud noise came from the building, and then the entire building began to shake. Due to the fact that it had been around for 1,000 years, the entire building was in a loose state. When the excavator zombie smashed into it, the cracks spread like a wave, quickly covering the entire outer wall of the building. Although the building did not collapse immediately, it was already on the verge of collapse. If the excavator zombie were to hit it again, the building would immediately be destroyed. Chapter 470. Go to Hell. The enraged Yi Tian managed to reach the excavator Yuan Ku in the nick of time. In a fit of rage, she chopped off the excavator Yuan Ku's head. Guhan, there's still one excavator zombie left. It's less than a minute away from the building, Misaka Mikoto, who was observing from the rooftop, reported. Although there was only one excavator zombie left, that was all the Yi Tian could do. There was still one excavator Yuan Ku left, and it was about 400 meters away from Yi Tian. Even if Yi Tian doubled her speed, she would not be able to stop the excavator Yuan Ku from getting close to the building. There's still 3 minutes left before the wings can completely solidify. Even if I wait for another minute, I'm still 2 minutes away. Guhan silently calculated the time in his mind. However, no matter how he calculated, he could not buy himself 2 minutes. Forget it, 3 minutes is more than enough. If I just hold on for a little longer, the parts that are glued together might be able to hold on. Guhan gritted his teeth and immediately ordered, Ms. Misaka, continue to keep an eye on the excavator zombie. Once it's close to the building, report to me immediately. Yi Tian, clear all the Yuan Ku around you, then quickly return to your sword. Thank you for your hard work. Guhan then ordered Yi Tian through the sword mark. She could finally leave without being surrounded by the group of Yuan Ku. Yi Tian let out a long sigh of relief. She took a sip of Dukang wine and then drew a perfect circle with the heavenly sword in her hand, clearing all the Yuan Ku around her. This created a short gap where Yuan Ku could not get close to her. Using this gap, Yi Tian turned into a ray of light and flew to the rooftop. She returned to Guhan's control using the sword return method. It's getting closer. The zombie is less than 10 meters away from the building. It's going to attack the building soon. Misaka Mikoto, who was in charge of observing the situation, quickly reported to Guhan. All right, Ms. Misaka. Get into the back seat of the hoverbike. Quick. As soon as Guhan gave the order, Misaka Mikoto ran back to the hoverbike. Just as she was about to get on the hoverbike, someone picked her up and placed her on the back seat. Mr. Guhan. Misaka Mikoto was shocked. She was much closer to the hoverbike than Guhan, but Guhan had returned to the hoverbike at almost the same time as her. This proved that Guhan's movement speed was much faster than hers. Not good. The zombies are rushing towards us, Misaka Mikoto exclaimed. Without Jiyu Han's obstruction at the top floor's entrance, the vitality silks gushed out of the building like a tidal wave from a broken dam. 9 blades of black heaven, sword rend. At that critical moment, Guhan could no longer hide his swordsmanship. He used one of the rare AoE swordsmanships from the 9 blades of black heaven. An explosive sword aura swept across the entire top floor like a shockwave. The ordinary zombies were like sand sculptures in front of the sword rend. They quickly melted and disintegrated into a pile of debris. The entire top floor was instantly cleared. Not a single Yuan Ku could be seen. Moreover, the door to the top floor was destroyed by the sword rend. Within a short period of time, the Yuan Ku would not be able to enter the top floor through the door. Ms. Misaka, hold on to me tightly. We're going to fly, Guhan said through gritted teeth. I'll hold on to you. Misaka Mikoto was stunned. She then exclaimed, but the electric current on my body will shock you. You won't be able to withstand it. It's fine. I knew this would happen. Guhan took off his outer clothes and revealed the black swimsuit underneath. Oh my god, Guhan had put on Misaka Mikoto's swimsuit. Only the wrists were cut open so that Guhan's hands could be seen. That way, as long as Guhan was wearing a swimsuit on the outside, no one would be able to tell that Guhan was wearing the swimsuit underneath. You're wearing my swimsuit. Misaka Mikoto blushed. She remembered that the two of them came out not long after she returned the swimsuit to Guhan. Guhan did not even have time to wash his clothes. In other words, Guhan had worn her original swimsuit. Misaka Mikoto recalled the water stains on his crotch area when she was reading her book. She felt terrible. In the past, Misaka Mikoto would have electrocuted this guy to death without a second thought. However, Misaka Mikoto was too ashamed to do such a thing. If she had not removed her swimsuit to avoid trouble, this would not have happened. All in all, it was Misaka Mikoto's fault. It was not Guhan's fault. Full speed ahead. Guhan did not know that Misaka Mikoto had so many thoughts running through her mind. He was not interested in it either. Guhan stepped on the hoverbike's electromagnetic valve to the very bottom and accelerated the hoverbike to its maximum speed. The maximum distance from the rooftop of the building was about 150 meters. Even if the hoverbike was a futuristic technology, it could only accelerate to 150 kilometers per hour at most. However, that speed was enough for the hoverbike to fly. When the excavator zombie downstairs slammed the excavator onto the load-bearing wall, the entire building could no longer withstand the force. It was instantly reduced to rubble, just like in a television drama. At this moment, a hoverbike with two wings jumped out from the edge of the building. According to the principles of aerodynamics, generally speaking, as long as there was a certain initial speed and the two wings were designed in accordance with the rules of aerodynamics, the hoverbike would be able to fly. Even if it could not fly actively like an airplane, it could still glide like a glider by relying on the high ground. At that time, the hoverbike that Guhan had modified was like a glider. Although it was very awkward to control and its trajectory in the air was twisted like a headless fly, it was undeniable that the hoverbike was gliding in the air. Moreover, the hoverbike had a levitation function that allowed it to descend more slowly and glide further. I can finally see the monument. Misaka Mikoto looked at the martyrs' monument at the foot of the mountain and let out a long sigh of relief. Based on their current altitude and speed, it should not be a problem for them to reach the monument safely. However, they did not know how good Guhan's landing technique was and whether he could land safely. "Oh right, Mr. Guhan, I wanted to ask you earlier. I remember that the hoverbike should be able to fly about 3 meters above the ground. Why didn't we just use the hoverbike to fly over? Why did we make it so troublesome?" Misaka Mikoto asked in a puzzled manner. The hoverbike could fly 3 meters above the ground, and the zombies could not fly more than 2 meters above the ground. There was no problem at all. Even though the zombies are stupid, the paragon behind them isn't. It's 3 meters high, with just a few boulders, we can fall from there. I don't want to damage the only means of transportation we have to get back to Yuzhang City, Ji Yuhan said calmly. "All right, you always have a point." Misaka Mikoto stuck out her tongue. She was bored to death as she sat in the sky and began to observe the situation around her. As she looked around, she discovered a big problem. "Mr. Guhan, our wings. There's something wrong with our wings," Misaka Mikoto said as she pointed at the glued wings. Guhan looked down and saw that more than half of the glue had loosened. The entire wing was trembling. As expected, 3 minutes isn't enough. Ji Yuhan sighed. He knew that this was a hidden danger left behind by the lack of waiting time. Under the impact of the air, the glue that was not completely firm had lost its effectiveness. From the looks of it, it would not be long before the two glass wings completely fell off. "Ms. Misaka, we might have to make a hard landing later," Guhan said to Misaka Mikoto, who was behind him. He then controlled the hoverbike to dive toward the monument. He tried his best to land near the monument. When they were about 100 meters above the monument, the hoverbike shook violently. The left wing was the first to fall, leaving only the right wing. For an airplane, it would be better to break both wings than to break only one. If both wings were broken at the same time, the airplane would still be able to control its descent. However, if only one wing was broken, the airplane would start spinning like a top due to the unequal airflow. This was even more fatal for Guhan's glider that did not have a shell. The hoverbike did not have a safety belt. If the hoverbike were to flip, Misaka Mikoto would be the first to fall. Keep. Guhan made a prompt decision. He kept the hoverbike into his dimensional pocket while they were still in the air. The two of them were free falling from the sky. Be careful. Guhan pulled Misaka Mikoto into his arms and hugged her tightly with both his hands. He controlled the fall with his back facing downward so that his body would become a cushion for Misaka Mikoto. Thud. Without any miracle, Guhan fell to the ground with Misaka Mikoto in his arms. He fell from a height of 100 meters and hit the ground with his back on the ground. At that moment, Misaka Mikoto could even hear the crisp sound of Guhan's bones breaking. Fortunately, he had the physical attributes of the two sword maidens, Duyu and Yi Tian. This was a situation that would have been impossible for an ordinary person to survive. However, for Guhan, it was just a simple bone fracture. Since Guhan could lift his head when he was falling, his head did not suffer much damage. In any case, Guhan had lost his ability to fight. With his spine broken, he could no longer fight. Fortunately, the previously densely packed Yuan-ku were now very sparse. When Guhan landed, no Yuan-ku attacked Guhan. This allowed Guhan to summon the heavenly sword and have it protect him and Misaka Mikoto. Guhan entered the medical pod. According to the medical pod, Guhan would need about 20 minutes to fully recover. It seemed like Yi Tian needed to protect him for 20 minutes until Guhan came out of the medical pod. Chapter 471. When the medical pod's indicator light lit up, Guhan crawled out of the medical pod. Spinal injuries could not be treated while awake. Hence, Guhan was forced to sleep. When he woke up from his dream, the first thing he thought about was the battle outside. Perhaps Yi Tian was fighting a tough battle to protect him. Hence, Guhan immediately jumped out of the medical pod. He planned to join the battle and share some of Yi Tian's and Misaka Mikoto's burden. However, when Guhan jumped out of the medical pod, he was surprised to find out that everything was peaceful outside. Guhan, you're finally awake. Yi Tian immediately jumped next to Guhan when she saw him coming out of the medical pod. She looked like she was concerned about her best friend, but in reality, she had placed her hand on Guhan's dimensional pocket. Quick, you still have some kvass left, right? Give it to me quickly. I've finished the 1,000 bottles of kvass you gave me last time. I'm going to die without kvass. Here. Guhan took out a bottle of kvass from his dimensional pocket and gave it to Yi Tian. It was the few bottles left in his dimensional pocket. Guhan's dimensional pocket did not have any left. Of course, that was not the main point. The main point was, why did Yi Tian have the time to drink? Is the battle over? Ji Han scanned the surroundings. It was a beautiful scenery with verdant hills and limpid waters. There was no sign of Yuan Yang. Yuan Yang was killed by you guys? I'm curious too. Gulp. Yi Tian gulped down a mouthful of kvass. This heroine is ready to shed blood for you. However, after waiting here for so long, I haven't seen a single Yuan-ku. It's as if Yuan-ku doesn't exist on this mountain. I can only wait here for you to finish your treatment. I'm so bored. Guhan looked at Misaka Mikoto curiously. Misaka Mikoto nodded, confirming Yi Tian's statement. She then added, I went to check the surroundings just now and found out that it's the same as what we observed in Janya district. These zombies didn't dare to take a step forward after Yuan-ku reached the foot of the mountain. It seems like the person controlling them also forbade them from getting close to the Rainflower Terrace. How could this be? Ji Han's keen senses told him that there were many secrets hidden in the Rainflower Terrace district. The things here far exceeded his imagination. However, that was not within Guhan's concern. The most important thing right now was for Misaka Mikoto to heal herself and bring her back to Yuzhang City. He wanted to use Misaka Mikoto's U-level abilities to contribute to the protection of Yuzhang City. Ms. Misaka, no matter what happens to those Yuan-ku, let's hurry to the monument you mentioned. After so many hardships, we've finally reached this step. Guhan said to Misaka Mikoto as he put away the medical pod. Upon hearing Guhan's words, an unnatural awkwardness flashed across Misaka Mikoto's face. However, she did not say much and only nodded. The group then walked toward the Rainflower Terrace Martyrs Monument. Before the cataclysm, The Rainflower Terrace had been surrounded on all sides by the bustling city. Only this mountain range had evergreen trees and grass. No real estate developer had dared to have any ideas on the Rainflower Terrace. It didn't even need to think to know how precious this piece of land was. What urban oxygen lungs, what Nanjing's largest garden, what forest and life. This was a first-class forest park district. The price of the house could easily be a few thousand yuan more expensive than the surrounding areas. Instead of wasting this piece of land here, it would only earn less than a few million yuan in ticket sales every year. The reason for this was because of the Martyrs' Monument. When the Communist Party founded the country, more than 100,000 communist believers, party members, and workers were killed by the reactionaries here. Every inch of land here was truly dyed red by the blood of the martyrs. Anyone who dared to touch this piece of land was simply courting death. As time passed after the apocalypse, the other areas of Nanjing were once again occupied by forests. This area, which was originally lush with trees, became even more lush. Most of the buildings were completely destroyed. Only the Martyrs' Monument at the highest point remained towering after 1,000 years. It was as if the souls of the martyrs were really guarding this place. The area where Guhan fell was not far from the monument. After walking for a few minutes, they arrived at the bottom of the monument. Guhan let out a sigh of relief when he saw this monument. He smiled at Misaka Mikoto. "Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. Ms. Misaka, you can start treating your injuries now. Thank you, Mr. Guhan, for your help." Misaka Mikoto bowed deeply at Guhan. "However, we might have to wait here for a while. The time to treat my injuries hasn't arrived yet." "Time?" Guhan was stunned. What time? He had never heard Misaka Mikoto mention it before. However, Guhan did not think too much about it. "No problem. How long do we have to wait? Is an hour enough? I can prepare some food for everyone." "An hour?" Misaka Mikoto looked slightly ashamed. "I'm really sorry. Looking at the weather, I'm afraid we'll have to wait for at least a few days." "A few days?" Guhan looked at Misaka Mikoto with an inexplicable gaze. "A few days? Are you kidding me? Yuzhong City might be done for in a few days." After a period of not-so-friendly communication, Guhan finally understood what Misaka Mikoto was hiding from him. The reason why Misaka Mikoto had to rush to the Rainflower Terrace to treat her injuries was not because of the elixirs or magical herbs in the Rainflower Terrace, but because of the lightning in the Rainflower Terrace. According to Misaka Mikoto, her injuries were caused by the destruction of the electromagnetic model in her body. She had to rebuild the electromagnetic model in her body. In order to rebuild the electromagnetic model, Misaka Mikoto could not rely on her own strength. She had to borrow the help of an external electric current. Moreover, it had to be an external electric current that was naturally generated in the universe. In this world, there was no external electric current that was purer than lightning. If it was just lightning, it could be found everywhere. There was no need for her to come all the way to the Rainflower Terrace. However, it was different when the external electric current was prefixed with the word spiritual. Spiritual lightning was not found everywhere. After all this time, Misaka Mikoto had only discovered one place where the lightning was spiritual, and that was the lightning in the Rainflower Terrace. Therefore, if Misaka Mikoto wanted to treat her injuries, she had to fulfill two conditions. First, she had to arrive at the Rainflower Terrace. Second, there had to be lightning near the Rainflower Terrace. Moreover, the lightning had to be naturally generated and not artificially generated. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" After listening to Misaka Mikoto's explanation, Guhan did not feel good. One could even say that Guhan was a little angry. That was because naturally generated lightning was completely uncontrollable. It could be continuous lightning and thunder for a day, or it could be half a year without a single drop of rain. Was Guhan supposed to wait for Misaka Mikoto every day that there was no lightning? If Guhan had the time to waste here, did he have the time to do so in Yuzhong City? "If I told you, would you have sent me all the way here?" Misaka Mikoto looked apologetic once again. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have lied to you about this. You can go back after you send me to Rainflower Terrace. Leave some food for me. I'll wait for the thunder at Rainflower Terrace. Who would have thought that Guhan, who had tricked Misaka Mikoto, would find out that he had been tricked as well? Moreover, he had been tricked from the beginning to the end. If it was someone else who heard the truth, even if they did not beat Misaka Mikoto up, they would immediately leave and never care about this scammer again. However, Guhan did not do that. Although Guhan was still very angry when he heard the news, he kept his cool. Since the truth could not be changed, he had to deal with it to the best of his ability. Follow me back to Yuzhang City. Guhan sighed and made what he thought was the best decision. I don't have time to wait for your lightning here, so you have to follow me back to Yuzhang City. I won't go to Yuzhang City with you. Misaka Mikoto shook her head. I'm worse than a cripple now. What's the use of me going to Yuzhang City? Of course it's useful. Guhan said in a deep voice, your freelancer friends probably don't know that you've successfully escaped. As long as you follow them to Yang Fortress, find your friends, and tell them that you're out of danger, they'll leave Yuan-ku and help Yuzhang City. That's enough. That's why you're helping me out of the kindness of your heart. You want to gain my and my friends' power. Misaka Mikoto's words were full of bones. You're the one who caused this disaster, and the crisis of tens of millions of lives in Yuzhang City is also because of you. Don't you have to take responsibility? Guhan's tone became aggressive. Of course I'll take responsibility. It's precisely because of this that I have to use my own power to defeat Loki. I have to return to being a level 6 super electromagnetic gun and not be a cripple who will drag my friends into danger again. Do you understand? Misaka Mikoto screamed. Misaka Mikoto cried out, you know how dangerous the upcoming battle is. My friends have sacrificed a lot to save me. I can't let them get involved in such a dangerous situation. This is a creator's godhead. If we fail, even if we're LV6, we'll be annihilated on the spot. There's no way I'll let my friends get involved. What do you mean? Didn't we agree on this? I'll help you regain your strength, and you'll let your friends fight alongside Yuzhang City. What do you mean now? Are you going to go back on your word and let your friends abandon Yuzhang City? Guhan glared at Misaka Mikoto as if he wanted to eat her alive. Mr. Ji-Yuhan, please understand that my friends are just my friends. I don't have the right to decide their actions. I've never promised you that they'll join the battle, Misaka Mikoto said, enunciating every word. Guhan recalled everything he had said to Misaka Mikoto. Indeed, Misaka Mikoto had never promised him anything like that. It was all Guhan's own speculation. Once Misaka Mikoto's friends knew that Misaka Mikoto was safe, they would be forced by Loki to join Yuzhang City's camp and take revenge on Loki. This was all in Guhan's head. Misaka Mikoto had never promised him anything like that. Misaka Mikoto felt guilty when she saw Ji-Yuhan's speechless expression. At the end of the day, she was the one who lied to Ji-Yuhan out of selfishness. She did not tell him the truth about the lightning, which led to the current situation. She was the source of all the mistakes. All right, I'll go back to Yuzhang City with you now. I swear that I'll use all my strength to make up for my mistake. I won't hesitate even if I have to give up my life. However, I won't drag my friends into this. I have no right to do so. Misaka Mikoto said solemnly. Wait for your lightning here. Guhan waved his hand and the heavenly sword returned to Guhan's hand. Guhan was filled with anger as he looked at the clear, cloudless sky. He suddenly felt that he had been tricked. Not only by Misaka Mikoto, but he was also tricked by the wretched heavenly sword that was secretly manipulating everything. The wretched heavens not only made humans suffer for 1,000 years, but his only home, Yuzhang City, was about to be destroyed. The battle that he had worked so hard for 2 whole days turned out to be a scam. Guhan did not know where to vent his anger. He could only point the heavenly sword in his hand at the sky and shouted, "Wretched heavens, I, Guhan, will fight you to the death for what happened today." Thunderclap. Boom. It was as if the wretched heavenly sword was punishing Guhan for his blasphemy and provocation. Several lightning bolts suddenly struck down from the cloudless sky and struck Guhan's side. 100-year-old tree next to Guhan was instantly turned into charcoal. Guhan was stunned when he saw this. He then sheathed the heavenly sword and turned around to face Misaka Mikoto, who was equally confused. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and heal your wounds." As the saying went, a roar that shakes the heavens and startles the flowers in the rain. Thunder rolls across the ancient capital. Chapter 472. I'll need at least 12 bolts of lightning to complete the reconstruction of the electromagnetic model in my body. Misaka Mikoto slowly sat on the ground and unbuttoned her clothes without hesitation. Misaka Mikoto, who used to throw a tantrum when she was seen naked, probably felt guilty for deceiving Guhan. However, this time, she did not say anything and took off her clothes neatly. My body must be in full contact with the lightning in order to completely absorb the power of the lightning, Misaka Mikoto explained. She hesitated for a while. "I'm forced to do this. It's not a big deal. I understand." Guhan's expression was rather cold. His attitude was completely different from when he was with Misaka Mikoto. To Guhan, protecting Misaka Mikoto was really just a mission. There was nothing else in it. "I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say other than sorry. I lied to you." Misaka Mikoto let out a long sigh. "I promise you that this time, I'll fight to the death for Yuzhang City. As long as I, Misaka Mikoto, exist in this world, Yuzhang City will definitely exist in this world. I'll live and die with Yuzhang City." "All right, I thank you too, Ms. Misaka." Guhan's expression softened a little, but it was still very cold. "I also promise you that as long as I'm here, Yuan-ku won't be able to hurt you." "Thank you." Misaka Mikoto nodded. She then looked up at the sky that was filled with dark clouds. After staring at it for a while, her eyes suddenly lit up. "Mr. Guhan, the lightning is coming." As the strongest electromagnetic superpower user, Misaka Mikoto's ability to sense lightning was undeniable. "Mr. Guhan, when the lightning strikes, I'll use all my concentration to control the lightning in my body. I'll leave everything outside of my body to you, Mr. Guhan." Misaka Mikoto paused for a while before adding, "If you encounter an opponent you can't defeat, Mr. Guhan, please leave this place decisively. This is my fate, and I'll accept it with a smile." Misaka Mikoto then sat on the ground with her legs crossed. As soon as she finished her sentence, a golden lightning bolt struck down from the sky. Although the lightning bolt was 2 kilometers away from Misaka Mikoto, it suddenly made a turn in the sky as if it was attracted by something and landed on Misaka Mikoto's body. Misaka Mikoto's body is filled with electric currents. She's like a high-energy superconductor that can attract all the lightning within a few kilometers to her body, Guhan speculated as he saw the lightning strike Misaka Mikoto's body. However, Guhan didn't know if his eyes were playing tricks on him, but he noticed that when the lightning fell on the sky above the Rainflower Terrace monument, the whole sky trembled, as if something had been pierced. Normally, Misaka Mikoto should have turned into a pile of charcoal after being struck by such a powerful lightning bolt. However, Misaka Mikoto was an ultimate electromagnetic superpower user. Her foundation was also the foundation of a young-level Yuan-ku. After the lightning strike, not only was Misaka Mikoto's body not charred, but it also had a crystal-like texture. Some parts of her body were as perfect as a silicone doll. Not a single flaw could be seen, and it made people's hearts race. "Oh no, the after-effects of the 3 green lotus blades are here again." Guhan's lower body was swollen, and he looked like a Mongolian yurt. Guhan did not dare to look at Misaka Mikoto anymore. At that moment, Misaka Mikoto's naked body had a strong attraction that men could not resist. Roar! Roar! Just at this time, the zombies that were originally restrained outside the Rainflower Terrace suddenly became restless, and began to let out terrifying beast-like howls one after another. It looks like the Yuan-ku is finally going to attack. Seeing the zombies' actions, Ji Han clearly knew that his leisurely time just now no longer existed. These zombies were going to attack the Rainflower Terrace. However, why are the Yuan-ku only attacking now? Why didn't they attack when Guhan and the others entered the Rainflower Terrace? This doesn't make sense at all. Guhan could not figure it out. However, he had a feeling that everything had something to do with Misaka Mikoto, who was behind him. When she started to heal herself, The Yuan Ku became agitated and were ready to attack. Guhan looked at the surrounding terrain. It was a typical highland. On both sides were cliffs that were about 10 meters tall, and there was a steep slope at the front and back. This terrain was probably an extension of the buildings from before the apocalypse. The cliffs were supposed to be high concrete walls, and the two steep slopes were supposed to be a series of stairs. Therefore, Guhan's current defensive strategy was very simple. Guhan and Heavenly Reliance would each guard the entrance of a steep slope. Then, Duyu would be the mobile force and reserve force. This was the most typical defensive strategy. Fortunately, Misaka Mikoto had entered the state of inner vision due to her healing. All her focus was on controlling the lightning that had entered her body, allowing them to rebuild the electromagnetic model in her body. Misaka Mikoto had no energy to care about anything else other than her body. No matter what, this was the final moment of the mission. As long as Guhan was able to stop the zombies' attack, Yuzhong City would have another strong ally. Moreover, it would be a universe-level freedom who had the intention to repay Misaka Mikoto with her own life. More importantly, although Misaka Mikoto said that she would never let her friends be in danger because of her, when Misaka Mikoto was in danger, would her friends stand by and do nothing? Therefore, as long as he could protect Misaka Mikoto, Guhan believed that there was at least a 70% chance that Yuzhong City would have the support of 4 to 5 universe-level freedom. To Yuzhong City, it would be like a complete tonic. Of course, if he encountered an opponent that even Guhan felt he could not defeat, then Guhan would not fight to the death. As long as he had the green onion stone and the training formation, Guhan would have no problem protecting his own life. However, when that time came, Misaka Mikoto might really die here. Oh well, if that's the case, then it's just like what she said, this is fate. Therefore, Guhan was fully prepared to protect Misaka Mikoto. However, after waiting for a long time, the zombies did not attack. Although they were still restless and howling even louder, they did not attack the top of the mountain no matter what. It was like a play on stage. They looked fierce on stage, but they would not leave the stage no matter what. What are they doing? Are they trying to scare us? Yi Tian was puzzled when he saw the scene. No, they're waiting. Guhan shook his head. He seemed to have figured out something, but he was still confused. They're waiting for an opportunity, but what is this opportunity? Boom. Another bolt of lightning fell from the sky and landed near the rainflower terrace. It was attracted by Misaka Mikoto, who was sitting there, and entered her body. This time, Guhan paid close attention to every detail. As expected, just like the previous time, when the lightning got close to the rainflower terrace, the sky above the terrace shook. It seemed to shake even more violently than before. Guhan, they're moving. They're starting to move. At that time, Yi Tian, who had been observing the bottom of the mountain, suddenly shouted. Guhan did not have time to think about the strange movement caused by the lightning and looked down. He saw the zombies that were hopping on the ground and not moving a moment ago suddenly charging toward the top of the mountain at full speed. Yi Tian, let's guard each side. According to their previous strategy, Yi Tian blocked the entrance of the steep slope behind Misaka Mikoto while Guhan threw the Duyu sword in his hand to free Ji Yun. He then instructed her to observe the cliffs on both sides to prevent the zombies from climbing up the cliffs. Come on, you useless zombies. This heroine will kill as many as you come. Yi Tian waved her sword and taunted the zombies. Unfortunately, the zombies had no intelligence and could not understand Yi Tian's words. In their eyes, Yi Tian was no different from a lively monkey. With the zombies' speed, it would take them about 5 minutes to walk from the foot of the mountain to the Rainflower Terrace monument. After all, normal zombies did not move very fast. Moreover, the roads around the Rainflower Terrace were mostly mountain roads. For zombies with poor balance, it was very tiring to walk. However, after the zombies had walked for less than a minute, Guhan noticed that something was wrong with the zombies. The zombies' eyes, nostrils, and mouths. Wherever there was a hole, there was a black liquid flowing out. Moreover, as time passed, the speed of the black liquid flowing out increased. In the end, it was like a faucet that had been turned on to its maximum capacity. The black liquid gushed out crazily and the zombies' bodies began to shrink. In the end, they turned into a deflated balloon and collapsed to the ground, turning into a horrifying corpse skin. At the same time, a dimensional vortex appeared and sucked in the corpse skin and the black liquid that flowed out. In less than 2 minutes, the zombies died before they could even touch Guhan's body. It was as if their bodies had been squeezed dry by a juicer. Guhan had never heard of such a method of death. What kind of secret was hidden in this cemetery of martyrs? Chapter 473. Guhan helplessly put down the Qingpin sword in his hand. He was prepared for a tough battle, but what the hell was going on? Yuan Ku just fell like that. I've seen something similar before. Yi Tian, who was no longer on guard, walked back to Guhan's side and said slowly, I've seen something like this when Yi Qing and I were fighting against Celestial in Guangzhou. Celestial has a kind of void technology that can control the evil energy in the void in a certain area. As long as a non-void creature stays in this area, their life force will be slowly consumed by the void energy until they die. It looks like the effect here is similar to the void technology. As long as they stay in a certain area, the life force of these zombies will gradually disappear until they die. Is there such a detail in that battle? Guhan knew about Zhetian's battle in Guangzhou. He heard that at that time, Celestial had sent a vanguard fleet led by an archon into this world. They planned to turn this planet into Celestial's home. As a result, he encountered Shroud Heaven's sword spirit, who had just become a spirit sword wielder at that time. After a bitter battle, Shroud Heaven single-handedly destroyed the entire Star Spirit fleet. This battle made Shroud Heaven's name spread throughout the human world. From then on, humans knew that there was such a powerful character like Shroud Heaven in their camp. However, there were too few witnesses to the Battle of the Astrals. Later generations could only restore the scene of the battle based on some clues and a few words. There had never been any record of the Astrals using void energy in history. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. I'm just telling you that I suspect this area might be shrouded by an energy similar to void energy. However, this energy doesn't harm us humans or the Sword Mistress. At least, it doesn't harm us. However, to Yuan Ku, it's fatal. Yi Tian concluded. No, you're wrong. Guhan shook his head. I'm afraid the energy here isn't targeting Yuan Ku. If that's the case, the first one to fall would be Misaka Mikoto, not these zombies. You mean that this energy is only effective against zombies, Yuan Ku? Yi Tian asked. I don't know. Maybe it's only effective on zombies, maybe it's effective on undead creatures, or maybe it's effective on all dark creatures. I don't have enough data to refer to, so I can't make an accurate judgment. Guhan licked his lips. But one thing is for sure. It's a good thing for us. That's true. Maybe by drinking and singing here, we'll be able to protect this Billy successfully. Yi Tian said optimistically. What did you call her? Beep beep beep. Guhan was stunned. He remembered that this name seemed to be the name of a large same-sex dating website before the apocalypse. Didn't I tell you? Yi Tian blinked. Back then, Zhetian and I fought together with this Billy. Zhetian and I always called her Billy. Wait a minute, why did I call her Billy? I can't remember. Hearing Yi Tian's words, Guhan recalled that Misaka Mikoto did mention that she and Zhetian had fought together before. That was why she could recognize the heavenly sword at first glance. Could it be that Yi Qing gave Misaka Mikoto the nickname Billy? Billy. Guhan repeated it a few times. He smiled as he recalled how Misaka Mikoto's body emitted sparks. That's quite an image. At the foot of the mountain, after the first wave of zombies had died, the remaining zombies immediately stopped in their tracks. They returned to their previous state of not daring to take another step forward. Looks like there's a will controlling these zombies. They've learned their lesson so quickly. Yi Tian expressed his opinion. That's the most troublesome thing. An opponent who's learned their lesson is much stronger than an opponent who only has courage. As Ji Yuhan said this, he looked up at the sky. It could be seen that another bolt of lightning was brewing at this moment. As expected, 10 seconds later, the lightning bolt struck down from the dark clouds. This time, there was no need for Misaka Mikoto to attract the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt's target was the rainflower terrace. Under Guhan's attentive gaze, he clearly saw that when the lightning bolt was about 200 meters above the rainflower terrace, there was a strong arc-shaped fluctuation in the sky. It felt as if there was a transparent pot lid covering the rainflower terrace's head. The lightning bolt had pierced through the lid and caused the entire lid to vibrate. In other words, this rainflower terrace also had a personal shield. The lightning bolt had pierced through the personal shield of the rainflower terrace, thus triggering the fluctuation of the entire personal shield. Compared to the first lightning bolt, the fluctuation caused by the third lightning bolt was much stronger. If the personal shield was the same, it meant that the energy of the personal shield was in the process of weakening. Guhan, the zombies are moving again. They're on the move again. Under Yi Tian's warning, Ji Yuhan discovered that the zombies that had just calmed down had once again started to climb towards the rainflower terrace monument. Just like last time, these zombies' ears, noses, mouths, and eyes started to have black liquid flowing out. But last time, they were squeezed dry after a minute and a half, turning into a stinky bag of skin. This time, these zombies advanced for a full 2.5 minutes before finally dying. What's going on? Why are these zombies able to last longer? Could it be that their strength has increased? Yi Tian was a little worried. These zombies were only rat level and it was already very difficult to deal with. If they were to increase to tiger level, it would be even more difficult to deal with. No, it's not that the zombie's strength has increased. It's that the layer of energy that's enveloping the rainflower terrace has weakened. Guhan lowered his head and looked around. He suddenly realized something and said, I understand now. It's the lightning bolt. It's the lightning bolt that weakened the energy here. When he thought about what happened earlier, part of the truth became clear at a glance. Under the attack of the lightning bolt, the personal shield of the rainflower terrace became weaker and weaker. Correspondingly, the zombies received less damage. That was why the zombies could last for 2.5 minutes from 1.5 minutes. It was not that their strength had increased, it was that the energy here had weakened. Yi Tian, return to your position and prepare for battle. I'm guessing that if 2 more lightning bolts strike, we'll really have to fight. Very soon, Guhan's prophecy became reality. When the 4th and 5th lightning bolts struck Misaka Mikoto, the zombies were already in front of Guhan and Yi Tian. However, by the time they reached them, they were already all skin and bones. Guhan did not even need to use any strength to chop off their necks with one slash of his sword. The real battle only started after the 7th lightning bolt was absorbed by Misaka Mikoto. When the lightning bolt struck, there was no longer a need to pay attention to the energy fluctuation of the layer of energy. The signs that it was about to collapse became more and more obvious. After the 7th lightning bolt, the zombies officially sounded the horn to attack. When these normal zombies charged towards Guhan, they were no different from the zombies that Guhan had slaughtered when he first arrived. Although he could still kill one with one slash of his sword, Guhan had to use 100% of his strength to fight this battle. However, the intensity of the battle was within Guhan's expectations. Previously, Guhan was able to kill his way out of the horde of zombies and was able to guard the entrance to the top floor. Naturally, it would not be a problem for him now. As long as Guhan stood there, he was confident that he would not let any normal zombies in. However, what worried Guhan the most was the 2 cliffs around them. If any zombies tried to break through from there, Guhan did not have the confidence to guard such a wide front. As the saying goes, what you fear will happen. When the 8th lightning bolt exploded and was absorbed into Misaka Mikoto's body, the gigantic excavator zombies once again appeared in Ji Yuhan's field of vision. They were more than 10 meters tall. Even if they were standing at the bottom of the cliff, their arms could easily attack Misaka Mikoto, who was on the monument's platform. What was more terrifying were the excavators in their hands. They only needed to use the excavators to knock on the cliff, and the entire cliff would collapse. It would then become a new entrance for the ordinary zombies to attack, just like Ji Yuhan's heavenly guard. Yi Tian, how many mouthfuls of green plum wine do you have left? Seeing this, Guhan knew that it was time for Yi Tian to attack. 2 mouthfuls left. Yi Tian quickly gave an answer. Yi Tian's ultimate skill, green plum wine, had a duration of 10 seconds and a cooldown of 30 seconds. Yi Tian's wine gourd could store up to 5 mouthfuls of green plum wine. In other words, Yi Tian could transform up to 5 times in a short period of time. Wait a minute. Something was not right. Yi Tian had drunk a mouthful of green plum wine when she killed the excavator zombies, Yuan Ku. She should have 4 mouthfuls left. Why was there only 2 mouthfuls? Yi Tian, where are the remaining 2 mouthfuls of green plum wine? Gu Han immediately questioned. About that. Kvass ran out when you were healing me just now. This heroine drank 2 mouthfuls of green plum wine to satisfy her craving. Yi Tian said righteously, what's wrong? This is this heroine's green plum wine. Can't this heroine drink it? Hearing Yi Tian's answer, Gu Han almost vomited blood. Such an important green plum wine could be said to be related to the success or failure of the entire battle. How could someone drink it as a drink to satisfy their craving? Chapter 474. This time, there were 15 excavator zombies that appeared on the Rainflower Terrace. They surrounded the terrace from 4 directions. If the Heavenly Sword still had 4 mouthfuls of green plum wine, then it would have been very easy to kill these Yuan Ku zombies. However, now that the Heavenly Sword only had 2 mouthfuls left, it had become an almost impossible task. No, it's not completely impossible. Gu Han memorized the positions of these 15 Yuan Ku zombies in his mind. Then, he continuously deduced the positions of these 15 excavator zombies. Fortunately, these excavator zombies were still quite a distance away from the Rainflower Terrace. Gu Han had a relatively long time to madly calculate in his mind. With such a high-intensity calculation going on in his mind, Gu Han naturally could not defend against these zombies. Fortunately, Gu Han had already arranged for Duyu to be his backup. When Gu Han was deep in thought, she immediately took over Gu Han's position. Although she was relatively short, she was very fast in killing these zombies. Duyu and Gu Han's methods were different. Gu Han and Heavenly Sword killed these zombies by chopping off their opponents' heads, but Duyu killed them by directly piercing their opponents' hearts and then turning their hearts into meat paste. In Gu Han's mind, the positions of these zombies were like chess pieces on a chessboard. Gu Han constantly connected 2 or a few of them, and then quickly rejected his own thoughts. At this time, Gu Han's mind was like a tractor engine that had been driven to 180 kilometers per hour. It had already exceeded its limits and was emitting smoke everywhere. Just as it was about to explode, a light finally appeared. A light finally appeared, and the 15 chess pieces landed in an instant. Then, they were pierced by Jiyu Han with 2 lines. It could be said to be perfect. Heavenly Sword. Memorize these 2 lines for me, and remember the time of each point. Don't miss even 0.1 seconds. Gu Han used the sword mark to force a large amount of information from his mind into Yi Tian's mind. Yi Tian's consciousness could not accept such a large amount of information in a short period of time. It was stuck on the spot for a long time before it recovered. Yi Tian was like a baby that had been forcefully fed a big mouthful of rice. It was in his mouth for a long time before he finally swallowed it into his stomach. As she digested the information, she even forgot to swing her sword. Fortunately, Gu Han took over the defense at the first moment, and then commanded Duyu to rush to the other side, taking over Yi Tian's task of blocking the door, preventing the zombies from rushing in. You actually made the time accurate to 0.1 seconds. After Yi Tian received the entire information, he started to complain. I've never seen a plan with such a strict limitation. That's because you have never met me, Gu Han said dryly. If you can't do it, I'll go by myself. You decide. Mph, you want to provoke me with such a shallow method? Yi Tian glared at Gu Han. Gu Han, today I'll let you witness this heroine's power. Well, the first sentence he said he would not be provoked, but in the next second, he slapped his own mouth. Yi Tian was indeed Yi Tian. Other girls would not be able to learn these things. Thank you. Gu Han chopped off the heads of the 3 zombies with 1 slash. Taking this opportunity, he bowed to Yi Tian and said gratefully, Thank you Yi Tian, my best friend. I know that this plan has troubled you, But the only one who can help me now is you. TSK, why are your words so mushy? Yi Tian trembled when she heard Gu Han's words. However, her expression was obviously much better, and there was a faint smile on her face. The unhappiness from before had already disappeared. You're wise to trust this heroine, my best friend. For the first time, the word best friend came out of Yi Tian's mouth. This was a signal that Yi Tian had finally recognized Gu Han. Who would have thought that Gu Han's sweet words would bring such an unexpected surprise? Sure enough, some words were right. Women would never like a man who quietly worked for them, but a man who said sweet words to them all day long. If a man wasn't bad, women wouldn't like him. Yi Tian, do it. As Gu Han fought with the zombies, he stared at the traces of the excavator zombies. When the position of the nearest excavator zombie reached a certain point that Gu Han was staring at, Gu Han ordered Yi Tian to do it within 0.01 seconds. Neigh. Claw Yellow Lightning let out a neigh, and this world-famous horse instantly appeared under Yi Tian's crotch. Yi Tian, who was riding Claw Yellow Lightning in her hero form, clamped her legs on the horse's belly. Claw Yellow Lightning, just like its name, instantly turned into a golden lightning bolt, galloping towards its target, the excavator Yuan Ku. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was as if they only saw a flash of lightning, and then a huge excavator zombie instantly died. After killing the first excavator Yuan Ku, the lightning bolt didn't stop, but continued to charge towards the rest of the excavator zombies, passing by them. And every time it passed by an excavator zombie, that zombie directly fell and died on the spot, not even having the chance to struggle. 10 seconds passed in the blink of an eye, but in this short 10 seconds, 8 of the 15 excavator Yuan Ku had already died, returning to the dimensional whirlpool. This was the best slaughter route that Gu Han had simulated in his mind. These excavator zombies weren't static things. Gu Han had to accurately calculate the movement of each excavator zombie, and calculate the position of the excavator zombies when Yi Tian attacked, in order to achieve the magnificent feat of killing 8 excavator zombies in different positions within 10 seconds. This was extremely taxing on Ji Yu Han's brain. When Ji Yu Han washed his hair for the first time afterward, he washed out 1/20 of his hair. There was so much black hair that it almost blocked the drain in the bathroom. Although Gu Han's calculations played a very key role, as the direct executor, Yi Tian's entire set of movements were completed so quickly, accurately, and flawlessly. It must be known that this battle plan of Gu Han's was an abnormal plan that was accurate to 0.1 seconds, and only a sword mistress with superb swordsmanship like Yi Tian could complete this. If it was another sword mistress, Gu Han dared to say that under the spiritual sword, other than the 3-foot sword, no sword mistress could do this. When the 10 seconds were over, Yi Tian, who had killed the 8th excavator zombie, returned to her original appearance, and then fell into the group of zombies, instantly becoming the target of the zombies. Yi Tian, you can now rest for half a minute, wait for my order, the other 7 are no match for you. Gu Han's order came one after another, but it was also a good order. After Yi Tian completed the miracle of killing 8 zombies in 10 seconds, her stamina had indeed been greatly depleted. In order to replenish her stamina, she did not even swing her sword to kill the zombies that surrounded her. She directly used her personal shield to block the zombies' attacks, and simply sat on the ground to rest. She was using the energy of her personal shield in exchange for stamina recovery. From this, one could see how much stamina Yi Tian had consumed in the 10 seconds of killing 8 zombies. On the other hand, Gu Han did not have it easy as well. He had to constantly keep an eye on the remaining 7 excavator zombies to see if they were moving at the speed and position that he had predicted. These excavator zombies were very obedient, and they really started moving according to Gu Han's plan. If there were no changes, everything would fall into Gu Han's calculations. However, no matter how meticulous Gu Han was, he still missed something. During the 30 seconds when Yi Tian was resting and waiting for the cooldown of her green plum wine skill, suddenly, there was another thunderbolt in the sky. The 9th thunderbolt fell from the sky and landed on Misaka Mikoto's body. The thing that Gu Han missed out on in his calculations was none other than this sudden 9th thunderbolt. Due to the 9th thunderbolt, the energy field that enveloped the Rainflower Terrace once again suffered an extreme loss. The zombies that were close to Guhan also had their combat power increased by a lot. However, what Guhan miscalculated was not the combat power of these normal zombies, nor was it the combat power of the remaining 7 excavator zombies. Instead, it was their movement speed. The direct result of the suppression of the energy field was that the speed of the 7 excavator zombies increased by about 20%. This was absolutely fatal to Guhan's plan. Guhan's previous plan still failed. Guhan had to come up with a new battle plan in the remaining 10 seconds or so. Moreover, Guhan could not overuse his brain. Otherwise, he would not be able to stop the zombies' attack in front of him. Currently, there was no Duyu as a backup team to help him accept the defense mission. He had to focus on the problem of the battle plan. No, I can't think of anything. These excavator Yuan Ku's speed is too fast. It's impossible to get rid of the remaining 7 within 10 seconds. Guhan's brain was not a supercomputer. Guhan wasted more than half of his time, but he still could not achieve his goal. When Guhan confirmed this point, Yi Tian's ultimate skill could be used again. As for the excavator Yuan Ku that was closest to the Rainflower Terrace Monument, it was only 10 seconds away. Yi Tian, I'll leave everything to you. Guhan suddenly said to Yi Tian, there's no other plan now. Use your maximum speed and kill all these zombies from far to near. Hehe, you really know how to shift the blame. Hearing that Jiyu Han was obviously going all out, Yi Tian could only smile bitterly. What else could he do? I'll try my best. Yi Tian leaped up high and temporarily jumped out of the encirclement of zombies. Then, he gulped down some green plum wine and returned to his valiant and heroic appearance. Jiyu Han, do you know how terrifying Heavenly Sword is when it's at full strength? Even I don't know how terrifying it is. Yi Tian took a deep breath. The golden lightning on the battlefield flashed once again. Every time it flashed, an excavator Yuan Ku would die. Chapter 475. Captain, we're about to enter the Maiden mountain range. There are a lot of Yuan Ku around here. I'm afraid we'll have to enter stealth mode. A team of 7 white-haired men hid in the forest. From their position, they could see no less than 100 Yuan Ku roaming around. This team of 7 was the scouting team formed by the man-made sword mistress, sky-piercing swords. Sky-piercing swords weren't very strong in battle, but they had the ability to travel through the void, which only immortal sword-wielders could have. They also had the stealth ability of the sword mistress. Just think about it. A person capable of short-distance teleportation and invisibility stacked together would be a natural-born scout. This was also why Shifeng had chosen Sky-Piercing Sword to form a scouting party. After all, only they could enter and exit the dark forest alive. But even though they had such a suitable scouting ability, they had suffered the greatest loss since their founding in the last mission. Not only had their core leader, the team leader, died there, but the rest of the team members had also lost an average of more than 30 years of lifespan. They had turned from young, fresh meats into white-haired uncles. It could be said that half of their lives had been lost in that battle. This was their most precious thing, but they still felt no regrets. Today, after receiving the mission that Sword Immortal Bystalk claimed was to save the entire Yuzhang city, they once again set out without stopping. Listen up, we only have one mission, and that is to find out what Yuan Ku is doing in the Maiden mountain range. Especially if we discover any signs of Yuan Ku mining, we must find out what they are mining. Remember, our mission is only to gather information. We are not allowed to have any conflict with Yuan Ku, nor are we allowed to do anything else. We cannot expose our whereabouts. Do you understand? The former vice-captain, who was now the captain, said to his team members. The team members nodded vigorously, indicating that they would definitely follow the orders. Very good. Everyone, hold your swords. The team leader gave the order and took the lead in gripping his sky-piercing sword in his hand. The rest of the team members followed suit and gripped their swords in unison. However, upon closer inspection, one could see that most of their palms were trembling slightly. This represented the fear in their hearts. Even though they didn't fear death to come here, Zhu Wudao made it clear to them before they left. There might be more than 20 Meteor Realm Yuan-Ku and 4 or 5 Universe Realm Yuan-Ku in the Miling mountain range. If they didn't handle this mission well, it might be the last mission of their lives. The desolate grade Yuan-Ku, the father of the gods, Zeus, once said, "Be it in this world or that world, humans are incomprehensible creatures. Even if their hearts are filled with fear, they will never lose that bit of light. If we want to defeat the humans in the end, we must defeat that last bit of light. Unfortunately, after 500 years, I still haven't found a way to destroy that bit of light." The current scouting team was the best portrayal of Zeus' words. Even though their hearts were filled with fear and they knew that they wouldn't be able to return, because of the existence of that bit of light, their footsteps were fearless. "Everyone, listen to me. This time, we will definitely return safely." The team leader's voice was calm and full of power. "This time, Sword Immortal Baiju is hiding in the void and is watching us. As long as we complete the mission, he will immediately use the void hand to pull us into the void and return to Yuzhang City. I guarantee that this time, everyone will return safely." The team leader's words were like good medicine. In an instant, all the team members looked much better and their wrists were no longer trembling. The team leader was right. This time, with Sword Immortal Baiju secretly protecting them, they would definitely be able to return safely to Yuzhang City. Sigh, this team leader must have never watched television dramas, movies, or anime. He didn't know that he had raised such a huge flag for his team members. Is this really our Miling mountain range? The Recon party, who were in stealth mode, looked at the scene before them in shock and anger. Although part of the Miling mountain range had been turned into bare mines due to human exploitation, the majority of the Miling mountain range still maintained its original beautiful forest. However, at this time, the Miling mountain range had become a scorched land. All the trees were gone and shattered rocks were scattered everywhere. The originally red land had also turned black. It was as if this place had become hell on earth. There were all kinds of Yuan-Ku walking around the team. Most of these Yuan-Ku were magical beasts like Yuan-Ku. Occasionally, there would be some Yuan-Ku in human form, such as vampires and succubi like Yuan-Ku. In short, these Yuan-Ku were almost all Yuan-Ku from the Western magical beast camp. There wasn't a single Eastern Yuan-Ku. The scouting team had to carefully avoid these Yuan-Ku. They couldn't have the slightest contact with them, otherwise their invisibility would be immediately broken. Although the invisibility ability of the Sky Pisser could last for a long time, there was a limit. They absolutely couldn't have the slightest contact with any of the Yuan-Ku. Even if it was just a touch of their clothes, their invisibility would immediately be broken. In this area that was densely packed with Yuan silhouettes, only death would await him if he were to reveal himself. "Team leader, look over there. Those are the statues of the 7 heroes of Miling." Suddenly, a team member pointed at several broken stone statues. Anyone in Yuzhang City could recognize at a glance that these 7 statues were the 7 heroes of Plum Ridge, who had sacrificed their lives for humanity during the war against Medusa and turned into stone statues. They had been the heroes and idols of Yuzhang City for hundreds of years. In these hundreds of years, they had been worshipped by generations of Yuzhang people. It could be said that they had become part of Yuzhang City's heritage and culture. Not too long ago, when these team members had just become sword bearers, they had also come here to offer their offerings and respect to these heroic spirits. However, such an important thing in their hearts had now been turned into a pile of rubble, carelessly tossed here. Damn it, these Yuan-Ku. A team member clenched his fist, but immediately, another hand was placed on top of his fist. "Idiot, listen to me. As a scout, we need to stay calm. Don't harm your teammates," the team leader said dryly. This emotional team member seemed to have been doused with a basin of cold water, and he immediately calmed down. "I'm sorry, team leader, I was too impulsive. Don't worry, in the future, we, the people of Yuzhang, will definitely repay this hatred." The team leader patted his shoulder, and the team set off once again, heading deeper into the Miling mountain range. The Miling mountain range was extremely vast. Just the 3 main mining areas occupied an area of tens of thousands of square kilometers. It was almost impossible for this small scout team to search the entire Miling mountain range in a short period of time. Logically speaking, the scouts should choose the routes that were less populated and not easily discovered by Yuan Ku. However, after a short period of consideration, the team leader decided to do the opposite. He took the initiative to lead the team to places with more Yuan Ku. His reason was very simple. The more Yuan Ku there were, the more heavily guarded the place was. That was where Yuan Ku was doing bad things. Only by taking the initiative to move forward and explore those places could they complete the task given to them by their superiors, and find out whether Yuan Ku were mining or not. This team leader's idea wasn't bad. This was indeed a method that could quickly complete the investigation, but at the same time, the danger would increase exponentially. They were hiding among so many Yuan Li in their invisible state. If they accidentally came into contact with them, they would be completely exposed. Just now, one of the team members had stepped on a pile of feces and slipped, almost crashing into the body of a bull-eyed demon spider behind him. If it wasn't for the team leader's quick reflexes, pulling his body, he might have already been finished. Thanks to this team member's lesson, the rest of the team members began to pay attention to their feet as they moved forward, hoping that they would not step on feces. But the problem was that because a large number of Yuan Ku were gathered here, there was feces everywhere in the Miling mountain range. It was a very difficult task to pass through here without getting their shoes wet. After cautiously walking for a while, the team finally found a place where a large number of Yuan Ku were gathered. They quietly crept forward and saw a huge hole in the ground that was about 50 meters wide. "I know this place. Isn't this the Luo Jiaping mine?" one of the team members exclaimed. When he was an ancient sword wielder, he had stayed in this mine for a whole year. He was very familiar with this place. As long as he saw the surrounding stones, he would be able to recognize this place. The Luo Jiaping mineral vein is a yellow rich mineral vein. The team leader closed his eyes and thought for a while. Then, he suddenly opened them. "All of you wait here. I'll go to the side of the hole and see what they're doing." "Let me do it, team leader. You can command us here." "Let me do it, team leader. The team can't do without you," a few of the team members said, hoping that they could accept the task of investigating the hole. "All of you, shut up. Do you have the ability to pass through those Yuan Ku?" The team leader snorted. The closer they got to the hole, the denser the Yuan Ku became. Without outstanding dodging skills and a flexible body, it was impossible to pass through these Yuan Ku. Chapter 476. In the end, the team leader took on the responsibility of investigating from a close distance. This was because he was the slimmest in the entire team and had the fastest reflexes. He was able to avoid the densely packed Yuan Ku. In fact, we won't describe how this great team leader got close to the hole. We only need to know that he spent a lot of effort and experienced a lot of danger to reach his destination. What a deep hole! The team leader looked down the hole but couldn't see where the bottom of the hole was. He could only see darkness and the rustling sound of air flowing through the hole. "No, I have to figure out how deep this hole is at least." The team leader looked around in alarm and found that Yuan Ku wasn't looking at him, so he secretly pushed a piece of gravel beside him into the hole. Based on the sound of the gravel falling, he could roughly estimate the depth of the hole. However, what the team leader didn't expect was that after more than 10 seconds, he still didn't hear a single echo. There were only two possibilities for this result. 1. The stone hadn't reached the bottom yet. 2. The stone had reached the bottom, but because it was too deep, the team leader couldn't hear the stone at all. No matter which reason it was, this hole was at least 1 kilometer deep. Only such a depth could isolate the echo of a stone falling to the ground. What a deep hole, what are they digging? While the team leader was thinking about this question, the entire hole began to shake violently. The team leader could hear a strange sharp hissing sound coming from the depths of the hole. Something is coming out of this hole. This thought popped up in the team leader's mind. Then, he began to quickly retreat, wanting to leave the hole. However, it was too late. A long snake-like creature that was 30 to 40 meters thick rushed out of the hole. Its body was at least 500 meters long, and it wriggled for more than 10 meters before completely leaving the hole. The team leader was so scared that he didn't dare to move at all. He recognized the origin of this yuan ku. It was called the giant platinum earthworm, a dragon-level yuan ku. The giant platinum earthworm was a powerful yuan ku in the Western magical beast camp. Although it was classified as a dragon tier, its true combat strength was at the level of a nether tier. Fortunately, the giant platinum earthworm was one of the few yuan huis that didn't know how to attack. No matter how many times humans provoked it, it wouldn't attack them. It would only try its best to run for its life. Mud was like water to fish to them. They could move very quickly underground and easily avoid humans who couldn't even dig a hole for them. The giant platinum earthworm was a natural digger. It was able to dig a dozen or so kilometers underground. They lived in the underground caves. The number of giant platinum earthworms was very small. Humans had confirmed that there were no more than 10 giant platinum earthworms in existence. They rarely appeared in front of the world. Who would have thought that Rocky would bring them here? It seems like what Sword Immortal Baiju said is true. The purpose of these yuan ku occupying the Mailing mountain range is to find something at the foot of the mountain. Otherwise, these yuan ku would not have brought the giant platinum earthworm, which has never fought with humans, here. The team leader thought silently. The team leader thought to himself. At this moment, the giant platinum earthworm's body began to tremble at a high speed. Then, soil began to fall from the sky like rain. Soon, a small hill was piled up around his body. So this giant platinum earthworm ran out to bring out the soil underground. Otherwise, it could have dug a few 100 kilometers underground in one go. There was no need for it to come out of the pit at all. Awoo! A beast let out a roar. The yuan ku demonic beasts beside the team leader unwillingly gathered around the hill of soil. They began to rummage through the soil that the giant platinum earthworm had brought out. Dimensional crystal ores were continuously dug out from the soil. Then, these ores were swallowed by a cloud-swallowing beast. The cloud-swallowing beast was a huge and very voracious demonic beast in the West. It was said that there was a dimensional space in its stomach. It could swallow all the humans in a city in one go, and then spit them out. The team leader had heard that the cloud-swallowing beast was often used as a large transportation tool in the West. The cloud-swallowing beast could swallow things that were more than 10 times its size. It was the best transportation tool. The team leader silently lay on the ground and carefully observed the situation around him. Soon, the yuan ku that had swarmed up found all the dimensional crystal ores in the soil. After the cloud-swallowing beast swallowed all of the ores into its stomach, it took slow steps and began to advance deeper into the Mailing mountain range. The giant platinum earthworm burrowed back into the pit and began to dig again. The team leader had already roughly remembered the situation here in his heart. Then, he carefully returned to his team members along the original path. Let's go and chase this cloud-swallowing beast. I want to see where these cloud-swallowing beasts are going. Under the command of the team leader, the entire team followed behind the slow cloud-swallowing beast step by step. After really following behind the cloud-swallowing beast, the team discovered that this yuan ku's speed was not slow. Don't be fooled by its slow footsteps. The team had to jog to keep up with it. In a short 15 minutes, the cloud-swallowing beast arrived at its destination, a dilapidated camp ruins. This is Luoting Camp, an abandoned camp of us humans, a team member whispered. In fact, there was no need for him to speak. The rest of the team members had been in the Mailing mountain range for a period of time. They were very familiar with Luoting Camp. This is our territory. Seeing those damn yuan ku's wanton activities in the former territory of humans, several team members angrily clenched their fists. But they quickly put down their fists. They had learned to control their emotions. Let's go in. Yuan ku, especially the magical beast yuan ku, did not have any sense of defense and vigilance like humans. There were no yuan ku guards at the entrance of the camp. The team followed the cloud-swallowing beast and directly entered the camp. Hey, team leader, look over there. After following the cloud-swallowing beast for a while, a team member suddenly raised his hand in surprise. The direction of his finger was pointing at a tall machine. This is a stone crusher. Why is it still in operation? The team leader was also surprised. He actually saw that the stone crusher left here by the humans because they did not have time to transport it away was still in operation. There was constantly white fog-like steam coming out of the chimney of the stone crusher. Pushed by the steam, the stone crusher constantly waved its hammer up and down, looking like it was working in full swing. Come on, let's go take a look. The team leader led his team to sneak near the stone crusher. This should be the stone crusher of the Hung Mountain Sword Sect. The courtyard of the Hung Mountain Sword Sect was originally built very orderly, and all kinds of defensive buildings were also available. As long as there were 20 sword bearers here, they could defend 10 times the strength of a few people. However, Yuan Ku did not care about these defensive buildings, and there was no Yuan Ku guarding the courtyard. Just like the city gate, the team easily entered the courtyard. These bastards. When they saw the situation in the courtyard, several team members could not help but curse. Even the team leader's mouth was closed, and he almost cursed too. The saber-toothed tiger Yuan Li standing around the team also heard this sound. They crawled up from the ground and constantly let out low growls. Their eyes constantly scanned the surroundings, trying to find the source of the sound. Unfortunately, they didn't see anything, so they could only pretend that their ears had malfunctioned and lay back down. The team leader did not say anything, but with tears in his eyes, he firmly held his brother's hands and used his own strength to comfort them. So what was it that made the usually calm team leader unable to control his emotions? Because the person in charge of this machine was not Yuan Ku, but a group of humans in disheveled clothes. No one knew where these humans were captured by Yuan Ku. They had no clothes on them, and they stood naked in front of the stone crusher. Their bodies were full of bloody scratches from wild beasts. Because their hands were exposed to the high temperature of the stone crusher without protection, they had already become charred black, and yellow body fluid constantly leaked out of the wounds. Yuan Ku usually killed humans they met, and rarely kept captives. If they did, they would strip off all the clothes of the captives, because they seemed to know that not wearing clothes was the greatest humiliation to humans, and they enjoyed humiliating humans. These human captives all had stiff expressions, and there was no spirit in their eyes. They had already lost their yearning for life, and all that was left was the instinct of a machine. Suddenly, a human captive staggered and fell to the ground, probably due to excessive blood loss and lack of physical strength. He struggled, but could not get up no matter what. Awoo! The two saber-toothed tigers seemed to be waiting for this moment. They immediately pounced forward, biting one of the human's legs and stomach respectively. Then, they bit down with their upper and lower jaws, forcibly tearing out a large piece of bloody flesh from the human's body. They chewed randomly, and directly swallowed it into their stomachs. They looked very satisfied, as if it was a rare and delicious snack. The saber-toothed tiger's actions were a signal. The other beasts around Yuan Ku immediately swarmed forward, and dragged out all the intestines, heart, and livers from the wailing human stomach. In less than a minute, a few magical beasts Yuan Ku had eaten a human alive into their stomachs, leaving only a head with its eyes wide open, staring blankly into the distance, which happened to be where the scout team was hiding. Chapter 477. I'm going to kill these beasts. One of the scouts could not accept the fact that his compatriots were being eaten by Yuan Ku in front of him. In his excitement, he wanted to rush up and kill these Yuan Ku. These saber-toothed tigers looked very powerful, but they were only tiger-class Yuan Ku. It was not a problem for a sword wielder to deal with them. Stop! Are you trying to get us killed? The captain grabbed his teammate's hand, which was about to draw his sword. Keep your body useful. We will take revenge with our own hands in the future. The team member froze in the position of drawing his sword for a long time. In the end, he put his sword back and turned around. He did not want to see this human tragedy. He could escape, but the captain could not. Although he was also very sad, the captain still stared at what was happening in front of him. He saw the cloud-swallowing beast come to the field and spit out a small mountain of dimensional crystal ores. Under the drive of the other Yuan Ku, The human captives could only put the dimensional crystal ores into the shredder and take out the dimensional crystals inside. All of this seemed easy to explain. Yuan Ku had enslaved humans to mine the dimensional crystal ores and obtain the dimensional crystals inside. But in fact, the Yuan Ku just looked at the dimensional crystals that were broken out of the shredder and threw them on the ground. Even if there was a marquise among them, the Yuan Ku would throw them away like they were old shoes. This was not surprising. According to human intelligence, the dimensional crystals were completely useless to Yuan Ku. They could not absorb the sword essence in the dimensional crystals, so naturally, they could not use the power contained in them. It was also because of this that the captain felt a little strange. He didn't know why these Yuan silhouettes were mining these dimensional crystals. Jiyu Wudao did not tell the scouting team the truth, so the team naturally did not know that Yuan Ku had used the creation god's personality to destroy Yuzhang City in order to find the king species dimensional crystal in the Mailing mountain range. Zhu Wudao didn't dare to make this news public. Otherwise, the entire Yuzhang City would be in chaos if word of this got out. Casually speaking, the dimensional crystals mined from the back of the crusher had already formed a 2-meter-tall mound. There were about 1 million dimensional crystals, which was a huge fortune in the human world. It would not be a problem to exchange for tens of millions of hero coins. This was a huge fortune for any sword wielder. Brothers, these dimensional crystals originally belonged to us humans. Everyone, go and use some so that it can be passed on to your descendants in the future. Even these heroes who walked on a tightrope for the future of mankind couldn't help but be tempted when they saw this wealth. Under the leader's lead, they each took some of the dimensional crystals from the pile. However, the leader was not blinded by greed. He was afraid that if the number of crystals decreased too much, it would arouse Yuan Ku's suspicion, so he forcefully restrained the scouts from taking a portion of the dimensional crystals without arousing Yuan Ku's suspicion. Indeed, Yuan Ku did not notice this, but a human did. His murky eyes moved, and his mouth opened slightly as if he wanted to say something. However, when he saw that the surroundings were filled with demonic beasts, he closed his mouth. Let's go. We still have a lot of places to explore. During that time, 2 or 3 humans lost their value due to exhaustion and were eaten as snacks by the saber-toothed tigers. The scouting party felt that if they stayed any longer, everyone would go crazy. Therefore, they quickly recorded the situation of the stone-crushing machine. After that, the captain led his party and planned to leave the campsite where Yuan Zhong gathered. However, when they approached the gate of the camp, they suddenly found that 2 more cloud-swallowing beasts appeared at the city gate one after another. They came from the opposite direction of the cloud-swallowing beast that they had followed before. Didn't this mean that Yuan Ku was not only mining that 1 mineral vein, but they were mining at least 3 mineral veins at the same time? Why? Since these Yuan Ku are disdainful of the dimensional crystals, why are they mining these ores at 3 places at the same time? The leader couldn't understand the reason behind this no matter what. After busying themselves for a whole day, the sky had already darkened. The scouting team followed the moving cloud devourers and found a total of 6 mining locations. Under the operation of these Yuan silks, the efficiency of the entire My Mountain mine was actually much higher than when it was under the control of humans. According to the statistics of this scouting team, around 100,000 tons of ores were mined every day, which was 10 times the efficiency of the humans' mining. The Yuan Huans seemed to occupy the entire Mailing mountain range in order to mine these ores and then use them to crush them with the stone crusher. Apart from this, the Yuan Huans didn't do anything else in the Mailing mountain range. It was as if their main purpose was to obtain these dimensional crystal ores, but they were so disdainful of the dimensional crystals contained in the ores. Leader, we have figured out the situation of the entire Mailing mountain range. We can go back, a team member suggested. The leader nodded. Indeed, the situation had been figured out, and it was time to go. Okay, let's retreat. Since this time it was so smooth, and Yuan Ku didn't discover our traces, then there's no need to trouble the chairman to tear through the void to save us. All of us will carefully return along the original path and complete this mission perfectly. Yes, yes. All the team members let out a sigh of relief when they heard their captain's words. There was nothing better than being able to complete the mission perfectly. However, accidents often happened when people relaxed. When this reconnaissance team was about to leave, they suddenly saw a group of soldiers in bright armor escorting a group of humans towards the direction of Luo Ting's camp. Leader, they are. A team member gritted his teeth, but he couldn't finish the second half of the sentence. Yes, these compatriots should be going to the stone crusher to be slaves. The leader was indifferent at this time. He didn't have the ability to save these compatriots, and he didn't have the right to exchange the lives of his team members for the survival of these humans. Even if he had to sacrifice himself, he had to save others. That was T leader. That person seems to be. Just as the leader was about to order his team members to leave, someone stretched out his hand and pointed at one of the bound humans, stuttering. Seems to be what? Do you know him? The leader was straightforward. I know him, there's no mistake. He is the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. The team member finally finished his sentence. I once went on a mission with the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. I can't be wrong. He is the sword spirit of our Yuzhang city, the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. Unexpectedly, the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit who had led Guhan to Chongyang Mountain had appeared here as a captive. No one knew what kind of pain he had gone through to become like this. Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. The leader kept repeating this name. He was in a dilemma. He didn't know if he should act and save the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. If it was an ordinary human, even if it was a sword holder below the famed sword level, the leader wouldn't be in such a dilemma. He knew how to weigh the pros and cons. These people didn't know that their scouting team was in danger. However, the one that needed to be saved now was the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. A spirit sword level power, even if it cost the lives of the entire scouting team, would still be a worthwhile trade. The prerequisite was that he could bring the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit back to a safe place. Leader, should we save him? Hearing that this person was actually a spirit sword level sword holder, all the team members began to hesitate. They also understood that a spirit sword level sword holder was much more precious than themselves. Leader, let's go save the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. We have a chance. A team member took the initiative to suggest. Yes, leader, there aren't many Yuan Ku around here. If we can eliminate the Yuan Ku that is being escorted in a short period of time, and then ask Mr. President to tear open the void and pull us back, we will be safe. Leader, the success rate of this plan is still very high. Please give the order. Leader, our lives are nothing. If the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit can be safe, even if we all die, it will be worth it. The team members all expressed their opinions. Unexpectedly, all of them chose to give up on returning home safely. They chose to save the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit even if it meant sacrificing their own lives. The whole team's hope was instantly placed on the leader. He hesitated for a while, but finally clenched his teeth. All right, then I'll listen to everyone. Save the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit. Yes, yes. All the team members said in unison. They all rubbed their palms together, ready to take action. However, the leader changed the topic and pulled one of the team members out. Wang Ba, don't join the rescue mission. Why? Wang Ba was stunned. Leader, are you looking down on me, Wang Ba? No, I won't look down on my brother. The leader patted Wang Ba's shoulder. Listen, we don't know if the rescue of the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit will be successful. That's why I have to send someone to act alone. He has to pass the information on the Mai Ling mountain range to the president. That person is you, Wang Ba. Go back the way you came and don't care about anything else. Go straight back to Yuzhang City and pass the information to the president. Do you understand? Why me? Wang Ba panted. Leader, let the other brothers go. I want to be with everyone. I don't want to act alone. Why you? The leader tapped on Wang Ba's personal terminal. Your grandmother has already lost 3 sons and 4 grandsons. You are her last hope. For your grandmother, you can't die. Get lost. You must return to Yuzhang City. Otherwise, we will never forgive you, dead or alive. The captain kicked Wang Ba's butt. Wang Ba endured the kick and slapped himself in the face. Then, He gave the captain a 90-degree bow and ran down the mountain as fast as he could. That kid got lucky. The leader looked in the direction of Yuzhang City. He was also his mother's last son. Chapter 478. Lord Eagle Cat, we are from Yuzhang City's investigation team. We will kill these Yuan Ku escorts later. Please cooperate with us. The scout captain walked to the side of the naked Eagle Cat sword spirit in the crowd and whispered into his ear. The Eagle Cat's expression did not change. It still had a dull and hopeless expression, as if it did not hear what the leader of the investigation team said. If the leader did not notice the Eagle Cat's eyelids suddenly blinking 3 times, he would have thought that the Eagle Cat's hearing had been destroyed by these Yuan Ku. The leader understood and began to arrange for his team members to prepare to rescue the Eagle Cat. The team escorting the Eagle Cat was made up of 12 Yuan Ku. 10 of them were ancient Greek Templars, while the other 2 were ancient Greek Templars. The Templars were Ghost Yuan Ku, while the Templars were Soul Yuan Ku. They were all at the same level as the sword wielders of the investigation team. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be too difficult for a team of 7 swordbearers to defeat 12 Yuan Shen of the same level. However, the problem was that the sky-piercing swords were known for their stealth and jumping abilities. Their fighting abilities were very weak, and they were no match for Yuan Ku of the same level. Moreover, there were still other Yuan Ku wandering around. Once the battle started, these Yuan Ku would definitely swarm in. By then, the sky-piercing swords would not only have to face 12 Yuan Ku, but hundreds or even thousands of Yuan Ku. They would definitely die a horrible death. Therefore, after careful consideration, the team leader decided to focus his forces and kill the 2 Templar warriors guarding the Eagle Cat sword spirit. Once the Eagle Cat sword spirit was rescued, he would immediately summon the power of Sword Immortal by Stallion to rescue them from the void. And so, the 2 Greek Templars who were standing beside the Eagle Cat blade spirit welcomed the last moments of their lives. In the blink of an eye, 6 to 7 sword maidens appeared in front of them and stabbed their swords into the gaps of their armor. After the first round of ambush, the 2 Greek Templars' eyes bulged out and angrily pulled out their greatswords to retaliate against their opponents. After a series of clashes, the 2 Greek Templars died and the dimensional vortex appeared. From this, it could be seen how weak the sky-piercing sword ladies were. Under normal circumstances, when faced with a surprise attack from 3 or 4 sword ladies of the same level, a mere Ghost Realm Yuan Ku would definitely die on the spot. But in reality, they only managed to hold on for a few seconds. It was only when the Sword Maiden's second round of attacks that they managed to kill the 2 Templars. It was clear that the Sword Maiden's attack power was insufficient. Hurry up and release the binding of the Eagle Cat sword spirit. After the Sword Maidens, the other Sword Maidens also jumped out and rushed to the Eagle Cat sword spirit's side, trying to break the binding on the Eagle Cat sword spirit. The Eagle Cat sword spirit was bound by a long iron chain. It even had the symbol of Yuzhang City on it. It seemed that these were the materials that Yuan Ku had found from the abandoned items in the Mailing mountain range. These seemed to be the encirclement chains of the camp, made to defend against Yuan Kus. They were mixed with some dimensional crystal stone powder, making them stronger than normal chains. Who would have thought that these things that were originally used to defend against Yuan Ku's attacks would end up being used by Yuan Ku to bind the humans? Sir, save us. Sir, save us. Sir, we are all from the Yuyang fortress, please save us. Please save us. Seeing the sudden appearance of the human sword maidens, the humans who were bound by the Eagle Cat sword spirit started to plead with them. Captain. You see. One of the team members couldn't bear to see his own compatriots pleading with him. Save as many as you can. The captain glared at his team member. The rest of the Templars are already here, organize a defense. After 2 of the Templars were killed, the rest of the Templars immediately rushed over. The sword maidens of the scouting team immediately went up to block the Templars' attack. However, as the rest of the Templars joined the battle, the pressure that the sword maidens had to face also increased, and they were gradually suppressed. How is it? Can you break this chain? The captain asked anxiously. Unexpectedly, when they were trying to break the binding of the Eagle Cat sword spirit, they encountered a huge problem. These chains, which they usually didn't care about, had become a difficult problem to deal with. They couldn't break it at all. At this time, the saber-grade sword maidens were defending against the Templar warriors. They could only use their ancient saber-grade sword maidens to try and break the chains. However, the quality of the chains was too good. The ancient saber-grade sword maidens were made of the same material as the chains. So, when the ancient saber-grade sword maidens slashed at the chains, they only created sparks and scratches. There was no other effect. At this time, the captain's heart suddenly surged with hatred for the iron chain manufacturer. Can't you learn from other companies and embezzle a little bit of the dimensional crystals mixed in to make some fake and inferior products? Why did they have to make the quality so good? Captain, are you done yet? Our sword maidens can't hold on for much longer, a team member said anxiously. When the remaining 8 Templars and 2 Templars gathered together to attack the 7 tiny sky-piercing swords, the situation instantly became precarious. Under the attack of the Yuan Yang, the sword ladies kept retreating. They were about to retreat to the side of the sky-piercing swords and were completely surrounded by the sword ladies. Damn it, this chain can't be broken at all. The captain madly slashed at the chains. Although he could see a small gap under his brute force, it was only a small gap. If he wanted to break the chains, it would probably take at least an hour. But the problem was, where did this team get an hour? They probably didn't even have 3 minutes. Somewhere further away, the rest of the Yuan coups were already rushing over. At that time, the team would have to face a tidal wave of attacks from Yuan coups. They would probably be torn to pieces by Yuan coup in an instant. No, we can't delay any longer. You cut the chains, I'll send a message to the chairman. I hope that the chairman can save the eagle cat sword spirit. The team leader loosened the chains in his hands and took out a small, square-shaped stone from his dimensional pocket. He closed his eyes and immersed his consciousness into the stone. This stone was a void stone that Sword Immortal Bicolo had specially created. It could send his consciousness into the void and communicate with another void stone that was compatible with it. Chairman, are you there? Chairman. The captain frantically poured his consciousness into the void stone. I'm here. What made the captain happy was that he quickly received a response from Sword Immortal Baiju. Sky-piercing sword team, how's your current situation? Ju Wudao asked. Chairman, the investigation mission has been completed. However, we're now surrounded by Yuan coups. We hope that the chairman can save us, the captain quickly said. All right, I understand. You guys must hold on for 1 more minute. I need time to cut open the void. Jendi could cut open the void anywhere he wanted. However, Sword Immortals could not. Depending on the distance, he needed a certain amount of time to cut open the void nearby. Yes. The captain cut off communication with Ju Wudao and shouted to his teammates, comrades, sword ladies, let's hold on for 1 more minute. After 1 minute, the chairman will come to save us. Humans were not afraid of despair, but they were afraid of not seeing a sliver of hope. When they heard that they could survive as long as they held on for 1 more minute, everyone erupted with a huge amount of strength and forcefully commanded their sword ladies to resist the attacks of the Templar warriors. There were no accidents or delays. A minute later, a void door opened at the location of the void stone. As long as the team passed through this door, they would be able to return to Ju Wudao's side successfully and escape this disaster. It was not a problem for the members of the team to escape, but what about the eagle cat sword spirit? At that moment, the chains on the eagle cat sword spirit's hands were still firm. There were no signs of them being cut. Captain, what should we do? The team member in charge of cutting the chains asked anxiously. Humans had to put everything on their bodies into the void gate. Only then could they leave through the void gate. The chains bound the eagle cat sword spirit's hands and extended for hundreds of meters. Either the eagle cat sword spirit cut the chains, or it would have to bring all the chains and the humans bound to it to enter the void gate. However, both options seemed to be impossible at this moment, so the captain made a prompt decision to make the best choice. Forget it. If we can't cut the chains, we'll retreat, the captain said without hesitation. He then turned his head to look at the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit and cupped his fists. "I'm sorry, Sir Eagle Cat. We're useless and can't save you. It's fine if I'm alone, but I can't let my brothers die here. Please forgive us, sir." After saying this, the captain began to order his team members to retreat through the void door in an orderly manner. They had thought that they could still save the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit's life. They did not expect that they would end up being cut by a high-quality chain. This was something that they had never expected. "Give it to me." Suddenly, the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit, who had been weak and silent all this time, finally spoke. "Comrade, give me the sword in your hand." "My sword?" The swordsman beside the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit was stunned. "Give it to him." The captain seemed to understand something and immediately said, "Here you go, sir." The Eagle Cat Sword Spirit took the ancient sword Maiden's body from the swordsman and took a deep breath. He then waved his sword and slashed at the chains twice. The chains that had caused the void-piercing sword team so much trouble were instantly cut. These 2 slashes seemed to have used up all of the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit's strength. He collapsed onto the swordsman beside him. Chapter 479. The Sword Maiden was just an ordinary sword in the hands of a wielder who wasn't its master. But this sword didn't stop the wielder from using his own power. The Eagle Cat Sword Spirit was, after all, a spirit sword level sword wielder. His sword essence was as high as hundreds of thousands of quarks. Even if it was an ordinary iron, in his hands, he could still cut through copper and iron, let alone a man-made ancient sword lady. However, the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit had suffered a lot and was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Cutting the iron chain was the last of its strength, so it collapsed on top of them. "Quickly help the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit into the void gate." Seeing that the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit was tired, the captain quickly ordered his team members to help the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit into the void gate. Then, his team members covered each other as they entered the void gate one by one. But the captain did not expect that this action would cause a commotion. "Sir, don't forget us." The other captives panicked when they saw the Eagle Cat Sword Spirit enter. Could it be that these sword bearers were not going to save them? Could it be that they were going to stay here and wait for death? "Sir, my family is rich, millions of RMB. Sir, please save me." A fat man quickly said. "Sir, I have a daughter. She's as beautiful as a flower, Yuzhong's #1 beauty. Sir, please save me. I'll let my daughter be your personal maid." Another man said. Looking at his ugly face, who knew what his daughter looked like? "Sir, I have twin daughters. I'll give both of them to you. Sir, please take me with you." This was a woman. She was so skinny that she looked like she was only skin and bones. It was as if there were 2 dry bags hanging in front of her chest. Countless captives begged, wanting to use their most precious things in exchange for a chance to leave this place. The captain swore to the heavens that even if there was a 1/10 of a chance, he would think of a way to save these people. But now, he was really powerless. "Let's go." The captain closed his eyes and jumped into the void gate. He did not dare to look at the captives. He was afraid that he would not be able to harden his heart. When Yuan Ku and the others saw that all the human sword bearers had entered the void gate, they immediately stopped in place and did not move forward. The void gate was equivalent to the absolute territory of the Creator. Once they stepped into the void gate, they would most likely be immediately killed by the Creator. "Pa!" The captain slapped himself hard in the face and shouted, "Chairman, we're all here. Close the door." Inside the void gate, there was no need to use void stones. As long as one spoke loudly, the person who opened the void gate would be able to hear them. "Let's go in together. We've already been abandoned once in Yeyang City. This time, we have to rely on ourselves to fight for our lives." A captive yelled, dragging the chains on his body, wanting to climb into the void. "That's right. Why can they live while we have to die? Let's charge in together and live together." With someone taking the lead, driven by their desire to live, the captives all wanted to crawl into the void gate. On the other hand, the Yuan Ku turned a deaf ear to this. They did not attack the captives who wanted to escape. Instead, They watched as the captives struggled as if they were watching a show. It seemed like there was a high-level and high-intelligence Yuan Ku nearby. He knew very well what it meant for these captives with chains to enter the Void Gate. As mentioned before, the Void Gate could only take away individuals who were absolutely independent. If there were chains left outside the Void Gate, then the Void Gate would not be able to take away the humans inside. If it dragged on for too long, the power of the Sword Immortal would be exhausted or destroyed by the universe-level Yuan Ku. Then, the humans inside the gate would return to their original position. "Captain, what should we do? Should we save them?" Within the Void Gate, a team member said hesitantly. Right now, there were already people who had crawled into the Void Gate. As long as they cut off the chains on their bodies, they would be able to save this human's life. Right now, there were only two options in front of the captain. One was to find a way to cut off the chains on these people who had crawled in, and the other was to push them out. The first option was undoubtedly the one that the captain wanted to make the most. However, when he looked at the eagle cat sword spirit, it had already fainted. Obviously, he could not count on the eagle cat sword spirit's power to cut off the chains. "What else do you guys have left outside? I can already feel the power of the universe-level Yuan Ku. He's rushing over here. He's about to forcefully destroy my Void Gate. Hurry and throw that thing out." Sword Immortal Baystalk's voice sounded from the Void Gate. The universe-level Yuan Huis were rushing over. Once the universe-level Yuan Huis stayed here, they could easily destroy this Void Gate since they also had control over the power of the Void. Time didn't allow the team leader to delay any longer. "Everyone, follow me. Push these people out, or else no one will live." After the captain finished speaking, he was the first to rush up. He grabbed the clothes of a person who had crawled in and threw him out. "But, Captain, what's the difference between us and killing people?" A team member couldn't bear to see these humans being pushed out and couldn't help but say, "Either we live, or we die together. If you don't have the heart to do it, then jump out yourself." "I won't stop you," the captain roared angrily, and this team member, who was acting like a saint, immediately swallowed his words. "What are you all standing here for? Do you all want to die in the hands of Yuan Ku?" "Push them out," the captain ordered again. Only then did all the team members come to a sudden realization. They all rushed up and pushed these humans, who had spent so much effort to crawl out, back into the endless abyss outside. "I curse you. You bastard, you will die a horrible death. No. No. Push me down. Save me. I won't let you go. I'll haunt you even if I die. Bastard, mother ***, you scum with a human's face but a beast's heart. Sooner or later, you will all die without a burial place." These people who were pushed out let out the most vicious curse in their lives. They had finally seen the hope of survival, but they had returned to the abyss of death. They couldn't help but curse angrily. This was human nature. "I'm sorry. Your curse, Song, will take it. If you have the ability, you can come and find me for revenge. I'll return my life to you." Song, who was also the captain of the reconnaissance team, said in his heart as he threw the last captive out. At the same time, the Void Gate quickly closed. With a flash of light, the entire Mai Ling mountain returned to its tranquility. Don't these humans flaunt their honor and morality? Why would they leave their own kind in the lurch? This is too interesting. On a mountain peak opposite the Void Gate, two people were watching everything that happened with great interest. One of them was a handsome man who looked like a deity from the heavens. He was a deity in the first place, and the other was his daughter, a woman whose left half of her face was as beautiful as the moon in the lake, and the right half of her face was rotten and hideous, with vicious maggots crawling all over it. This handsome man was the Western evil god Loki, who planned and launched the whole attack. Next to him was his daughter, the god of death, Hyla. If humans really have these things, why would they keep talking about them and keep mentioning them? Loki's eyes were full of wisdom, as if he had seen through everything. Humans have always been the most hypocritical creatures. This is also something we can use. My dear daughter, Hyla, let your subordinates go to the group of captives just now. After experiencing the good show just now, among these stubborn captives, There must be some who are willing to work for us. Identify them and give them a little better treatment than the other captives, Loki said with a smile. There's no need to trouble father. As long as my little babies scare them and fill their stomachs with a few people, they will work for us, Hyla said with disdain. No, my dear daughter. Subordinates like this are not people who are willing to be dogs for you. What we need are dogs who are willing to serve us. Those that are thrown out by humans are such dogs. Do you understand? Loki patted Hyla's hair that was as dry as rotten snakeskin. As you wish, my father. Hyla nodded and arranged for her subordinates to do these things. But father, are you just going to let these human sword-bearers go? You could have kept them here. Hyla continued to ask. Why should I keep them? Loki's face was full of smiles. They are the pawns of my next plan. I can't wait for them to leave here safely. But they saved the sword-bearer that I spent so much effort to catch, Hyla said. At the same time, the smile on the beautiful left side of her face became even brighter. Whenever Hyla was angry, the beautiful half of her face would give the brightest smile. When she was happy, the rotten half of her face would become even uglier. The sword-bearer that you caught is already dead. Loki touched the rotten half of his daughter's face and kissed it without feeling disgusted. My dear daughter, I have already let Obdul control that human. He is the most important rat*T that I have embedded in the human race. I don't want to hear that stupid woman's name, my dear father. When we are together, can you tell other women to go away? Hyla said with some intoxication. Of course, as you wish, my dear daughter. Tonight, father will accompany you well. You will not be lonely anymore. Loki held his daughter's hand and slowly disappeared above the mountains. Chapter 480. It's the 11th lightning bolt. Guhan's arms began to tremble uncontrollably as he looked at the endless horde of zombies surrounding the Rainflower Terrace. He had been fighting to protect Misaka Mikoto for 4 whole hours. In those 4 hours, Guhan did not move from his current position even once. He kept slashing and slashing repeatedly. Even though Guhan's physical strength had been strengthened by 2 sword maidens and Guhan still had more than 1,000 quarks of sword essence in his body was still on the verge of collapsing. Guhan was not like Yi Tian. She had Duyu to take turns with her and had time to rest. On the other hand, Guhan had no choice but to continue fighting on his own. At this moment, his wrists felt as if they were filled with lead that weighed tens of kilograms. Every time he lifted his wrists, it was a huge torture. If you don't understand what kind of pain this is, then try to lift your textbook flat. You can't put the book down in the middle. It doesn't have to be very heavy, just a language textbook will do. You guys don't have to lift them for 4 hours either. 20 minutes is enough. That way, you guys can roughly understand how much torture Guhan was in. However, even though he was in such pain, Guhan did not slow down his killing speed. That was because he knew that he could not collapse. If he did, all his hard work over the past few days would come to an end. At one point, Guhan thought that he did not have to guard Misaka Mikoto for such a long time. The 1st to the 10th lightning bolt entered Misaka Mikoto's body was less than an hour apart. However, for the 11th lightning bolt, Guhan had to wait for more than 3 hours. During those 3 hours, although there were lightning bolts falling from the sky, they were very far away from the Rainflower Terrace. No matter what, they did not land near the Rainflower Terrace. Helplessly, Guhan could only fight for 4 hours before the 11th lightning bolt landed. However, as the 11th lightning bolt landed, Guhan noticed that the energy field that enveloped the entire Rainflower Terrace had completely shattered. Just now, he saw with his naked eye that the entire space had instantly become like a shattered glass, densely packed with cracks. It was a very bad thing because when the energy field completely shattered, the entire ground began to tremble. Guhan saw a building in the distance suddenly explode as if something had burst it. Amidst the dust and ashes of the building, an octopus-like monster gradually revealed itself. The giant octopus monster was at least 200 meters tall and 200 meters wide. It had 8 tentacles around it. Although Guhan did not know how long the tentacles were, He was certain that it was very easy for the octopus monster to attack Guhan with its tentacles. At the same time, the body of the giant octopus was also densely packed with hundreds of small volcanic craters. From these volcanic craters, ordinary zombies were continuously climbing out. In the center of the giant octopus was the largest volcanic crater. From this volcanic crater, the zombies that were crawling out were huge excavators. Seeing this scene and the giant octopus, Guhan's heart couldn't help but think of a word: zombie mother. So all the zombies here were created by this giant octopus. It's like the queen bee of a beehive. Could it be that it can control the movements of the entire zombie group? Guhan muttered to himself. He finally figured out the origin of these zombies and the master behind them. But this was not good news, because Guhan could not think of any way to deal with this powerful giant octopus zombie mother. Judging from the power of this giant octopus, it was at least a nether-level Yuan Ku that was equivalent to an ordinary spirit sword-level swordsman. It was even very likely that it was second only to an immortal sword-level swordsman, equivalent to a top spirit sword-level swordsman. Such a Yuan Ku was definitely an existence that Guhan could not deal with. Guhan could only pray that this giant octopus was not interested in dealing with him, but this was obviously impossible. The first thing this giant octopus did after appearing was to stretch its tentacles, and then extended one of them in front of Guhan. Stop! Guhan heard a buzzing sound that seemed to be talking inside a jar. The tone of the voice was strange, and he couldn't even tell whether it was male or female. But it was obvious that this voice should be the voice of this giant octopus, because after the word stop, those ordinary zombies that were still attacking stopped and did not take another step forward. Guhan finally had a chance to rest. Unfortunately, Guhan did not dare to rest. He still maintained a state of high vigilance, staring at the tentacle in front of him. No one knew if this tentacle would suddenly attack him. Human, my zombies have never had any conflicts with you humans, and they have never left this small area. Why did you break into my territory and kill my descendants? The giant octopus or zombie mother said in a buzzing voice. It sounded like it was an innocent mother. You're wrong. The one who has always wanted to have a conflict is you. We are just here to replenish some thunder and lightning and defend here. Have you ever seen us take the initiative to attack your zombies? Although Guhan's tone was a bit cold, he still explained the situation. He also emphasized that he was only defending and had no intention of attacking the zombies. From a certain point of view, Guhan had already admitted that he was afraid. If it was me, I would also be afraid. Facing a meteor stage Yuan Ku, being afraid is the smartest thing to do. Those who didn't fear would have already become a pile of bones, or maybe not even a bone would be left. How can I allow others to sleep beside my bed? You want to break into my territory, so naturally you have to face my attacks. The giant octopus's words were very calm, and every word was spoken at the same time. It sounded like the voice of an automatic reading software. Moreover, its words did not contain any emotions. Even if you just looked at it, you could feel the emotions in it, but when Guhan heard it, he could not feel a trace of it. Get out of here. Suddenly, the giant octopus's words changed, and then the entire zombie horde was in an uproar. With Guhan as the center, a 1-meter-wide path actually opened up. Looking at it with the naked eye, this path extended to the end of the zombie horde. As long as they passed through this path, Guhan and the others could keep moving forward until they were out of the zombie horde's territory. Leave here. The giant octopus repeated, I will let you live, leave here immediately. What you said is true. Guhan smiled. If we were halfway through and you came to kill us, wouldn't we be dead? I never lie. The giant octopus still maintained its calm tone. Human, you have to understand a truth, only corpses will not lie to you. This giant octopus's words were very reasonable, and Guhan actually had no way to refute it. To be honest, Ji-Yuhan had a vague feeling that this giant octopus was just like what he said. He wouldn't lie. If they did this, they might really be able to leave Nanjing unscathed. Unfortunately, Guhan's goal was still one step away. Guhan could not leave here immediately, but Guhan also did not want to have another conflict with this giant octopus. Okay, I believe you. Guhan nodded, and tried to say, but we still have something to do. If we finish this, we will immediately leave here, and will not stay. No, you must immediately leave here, or you will refuse my friendship. Was this giant octopus's friendship valuable? Anyway, Guhan could not see how valuable it was. If you refuse, then refuse. Guhan smiled coldly. I never thought that a corpse would have any friendship. You will pay a price for your recklessness, stupid human. You can go to hell. It seemed that the giant octopus's calm way of speaking finally attracted the emotional fluctuations of a representative point. After Guhan's words, the original negotiation was completely announced to be broken. After the negotiation was broken, the previously restored zombies once again launched an attack on Guhan. At the same time, the giant octopus's tentacle also joined in the siege. The giant octopus's tentacle was far above Guhan in terms of strength, speed, and other attributes. Guhan was only hit by the tentacle, and he flew more than 10 meters away. Xiao Yun, I will leave this to you. I will deal with this tentacle. Guhan climbed up from the ground, and gave the task of resisting the ordinary Yuan Ku to Jiu Yun. He himself was determined to face this tentacle. Human, give up resistance and leave here. The giant octopus was still buzzing. As soon as my friend recovers, we will leave immediately. Guhan replied. Then die. The giant octopus did not speak anymore because its tentacle had given its answer. The train-like tentacle attacked again. This time, its target was not Guhan, but Misaka Mikoto, who was sitting in the middle waiting for the 12th lightning strike. Don't even think about it. Ji Han stood in front of Misaka Mikoto with the paw sword in his hand. He blocked the giant octopus's tentacles with his sword of spring technique. With his strength alone, he was able to block a moving train. Human. Despicable. The giant octopus retracted its tentacle. Of course, it did not give up. It was gathering its strength again, like a spring that had been compressed to its limit. It would then explode in an instant, wanting to destroy the entire high platform. Guhan understood the giant octopus's plan the moment it retracted its tentacle. He could not allow the spring to be compressed. Therefore, he stabbed the Qingpin sword into the giant octopus's tentacle, and his entire body was pulled back to the side of the giant octopus. Chapter 481. When the big octopus retracted its tentacles, it felt that there was a person on top of it. The big octopus was very disdainful. In its mind, it only needed to quickly swing its tentacles to throw this damned human off. As a result, we saw a very interesting scene. The big octopus tentacles began to spin like a Ferris wheel. The spinning tentacles resembled a flying saucer, giving off a sense of déjà vu of a man on a horse. Unfortunately, the big octopus miscalculated. Qingpin's sword was firmly inserted into the flesh of the tentacle, while Guhan tightly held onto the hilt of Qingpin's sword, never loosening his grip. Even though his whole body was thrown off, he still didn't leave the big octopus's tentacle. The big octopus saw that it couldn't get rid of this damned human no matter how hard it tried. It suddenly became unhappy. It had used all of its strength. Why hadn't this human rolled off? The big octopus probably regarded this behavior as a provocation, and in response to this provocation, the big octopus felt that what it should do was to throw the human off. The result of this was that the big octopus's tentacles spun even more happily, and it didn't show any signs of stopping. This rotation lasted for more than 40 minutes. The big octopus felt extremely bored, and its tentacles were sore, but Guhan was still on top of it. The big octopus didn't know that this kind of rotation was a piece of cake for Guhan. For a master swordsman, borrowing the enemy's strength was a very basic skill. To put it simply, some things would become a habit after a long time. Perhaps at the beginning, this was a dangerous situation for Guhan, but after a few minutes, Guhan had completely adapted to this state of high rotation. His body didn't feel any discomfort. He could even close his eyes and take a short nap to relieve the fatigue from fighting the zombies. In short, Guhan hoped that the big octopus would continue to spin. It would be best if it could spin until the 12th lightning struck down. Unfortunately, the big octopus wasn't so cooperative. After more than 40 minutes, the big octopus finally realized how stupid this behavior was, and then decisively stopped. Ah, Happy time is over. When the tentacles stopped moving, Ji-Yu-Han let out a sigh of regret. But thanks to the 40 minutes of spinning, Ji-Yu-Han's exhausted body was able to get some rest. At the very least, his arms were no longer as heavy as 1,000 kilograms when he tried to lift them. Soon, the big octopus's second wave of attack came, this time from the other 7 tentacles of the big octopus. These tentacles were either whipping, pushing, or pushing, trying to drive Guhan down from the tentacles. As long as Guhan went down, the tide of zombies below would be able to teach Guhan a lesson. Unfortunately, although these tentacles were numerous and powerful, they couldn't touch Guhan at all of them were easily dodged by Guhan. He was like a sticky candy, tightly glued to the tentacles of the big octopus, and couldn't be beaten down no matter what. And in this quite a long period of entanglement, Guhan also discovered that this big octopus was actually a yuan-ku that was strong in the middle but weak in the outside. Generally, people would say that others were strong in the outside but weak in the inside, which meant that they were strong on the outside but weak in the inside. But this big octopus yuan-ku was indeed strong in the middle but weak in the outside. Its own strength was very strong, and its foundation was also excellent, but it simply didn't know any fighting methods, only relying on its own instincts to fight. Take its current attack on Guhan, for example. If Guhan controlled its 7 tentacles that were longer and thicker than a train, he would be beaten down in minutes. But this yuan-ku completely relied on its own instincts to control it. Wherever Guhan was, it would attack there, without even the simplest prediction. It had to be said that this kind of enemy was really a bit too cute. And this big octopus's IQ was a bit low. In fact, it didn't need to fight with him like this at all. As long as it slightly changed its mind, then Guhan would be completely forced into a desperate situation, and could only accept the outcome of defeat. It clearly had such a huge body, but it didn't know how to use it. It clearly had such a big head, but its IQ was almost 0. This was like guarding a large pile of gold, silver, and jewelry in a boundless desert. It was really a pity. But considering that he was a yuan-ku, this kind of pity was nothing to feel sorry about. This kind of somewhat boring battle continued until Guhan raised his head and looked at the sky. Inexplicably, he started to feel anxious. This was because Guhan noticed that the dark clouds in the sky were gradually dispersing. Seeing this, Guhan instantly lost his cool. The dark clouds were dispersing, which meant that the lightning was about to end. However, the 12th lightning bolt that Misaka Mikoto needed had yet to land beside the rainflower terrace. Once the dark clouds completely disappeared, would Guhan still have to wait for it to rain? Even if Guhan was willing to wait, would the big octopus be willing to wait? How long could he play with this big octopus like this? If the big octopus suddenly became smart and noticed Guhan's weakness, then everything would be over. Therefore, Guhan could not afford to delay any longer. He had to immediately think of a way to send the 12th lightning bolt into Misaka Mikoto's body before the dark clouds disappeared. At this time, although there were still some lightning bolts falling occasionally, their main landing point had shifted from the Rainflower Terrace to the Drum Tower district. The two districts were about 10 kilometers apart, and Misaka Mikoto's lightning guidance range was less than 5 kilometers. No matter how many lightning bolts fell from the Drum Tower district, they would not be able to enter Misaka Mikoto's body. Logically speaking, at this time, the best way was to move Misaka Mikoto's body to the Drum Tower district. As long as she was placed anywhere in the Drum Tower district, Misaka Mikoto could easily absorb the 12th lightning bolt. However, Misaka Mikoto clearly told Guhan that she could only absorb the lightning by staying in the Rainflower Terrace to heal herself. Otherwise, she would have gone to the Rainflower Terrace to be struck by lightning. She could just find a random area with no one around. Therefore, Misaka Mikoto could only stay in the Rainflower Terrace to absorb the lightning. She could not even move a muscle. If Guhan wanted to help Misaka Mikoto successfully absorb the 12th lightning bolt, there was only one way he could do it, and that was to find a way to direct the lightning from the Drum Tower district to the Cloud Terrace district. It sounded quite simple, but in reality, it was almost an impossible task. Guhan was entangled by the big octopus. How was he going to reach the Drum Tower district? Even if he reached the Drum Tower district, How was he going to send the lightning to the Cloud Terrace district? With a wire. Although there were a lot of things in Guhan's dimensional pocket that might be useful, a wire that spanned a distance of more than 10 kilometers was something that Guhan did not have. However, Guhan did not give up hope. He avoided the big octopus's tentacles as he scanned his surroundings. His brain was working frantically again, trying to find a way to solve the problem. Suddenly, Guhan found something interesting. The big octopus's tentacles were extremely long. It could extend from the Qinhuai district where he was at to the Drum Tower district. In other words, the big octopus and its tentacles could almost cover the entire Nanjing city. However, in the battle with the tentacles earlier, the big octopus's tentacles kept avoiding the Drum Tower district. Even if a tentacle occasionally came close, the big octopus would quickly retract it as if there was something terrifying in the Drum Tower district. So, what kind of terrifying thing could make the big octopus so afraid? The answer was simple. It was the lightning that was constantly falling from the Drum Tower district. The big octopus seemed to be very afraid of lightning. The big octopus had been hiding here for a long time. When Misaka Mikoto had just received the lightning, it could have come out to attack. However, it had been hiding in the building and did not expose itself. During the time when it was hiding, it happened to be the time when the lightning was raging in the Yuhuatai district and Qinhuai district. It was precisely because it was struck by the lightning that it did not appear. It was only until the lightning had completely shifted to the Drum Tower district that it had the courage to show its head and attack Guhan. It seemed that the big octopus was extremely afraid of lightning. Logically speaking, with the size of the big octopus, it was not a big deal to be struck by lightning. The feeling of being struck by lightning on this behemoth was similar to being electrocuted by a small electric spark. Everyone must have played with the electronic lighter inside the lighter and experienced the numbing feeling of being hit by the electric spark from the lighter. To the big octopus, lightning was similar to electric sparks to humans. No one would really care about this numbing feeling. In fact, many people would even enjoy this numbing feeling. As the saying goes, a fool is not afraid of pain. With the big octopus's stupid brain, why would it be afraid of lightning? There was only one reason, and that was that the damage caused by the lightning to the big octopus was definitely not as simple as being hit by an electric spark. It must be a kind of unforgettable pain for the big octopus. The reason why humans did not think that the electric spark was very powerful was that the human body's electrical resistance was actually very high. The electric spark could only numb a small area. If the human body was close to the level of a superconductor, then the electric spark would not be as simple as numbing a small area. It would be conducted to every part of the human body. The same principle applied to the big octopus. What if the electric resistance of the big octopus was not as huge as its body size, but the opposite, close to a superconductor? Then, would the big octopus not be the best conductor in the world? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,